Wealth and power surpass the imperial family of the state of Sart, and it is not an exaggeration to say that the blessing of the goddess Sart first of all reached this family. Among them is the man with the greatest fame, Kartse Erbios, a young duke with perfect appearance, wealth, and title. And there was another reason why he was popular. He had returned to the empire just 2 months ago after studying abroad and had never appeared in public. The boy says that the more people want to marry him, the more strange rumors spread. The first girl who married Duke Erbios died suddenly within a year due to a curse. The man smiled and said that maybe it was just a rumor. And the guy explained that he just said it because the lady was going to the Duchy of Erbios, and he wondered what kind of lady would marry this duke. The boy tells the lady that they have arrived. The main character gets out of the carriage and thinks that in this place she will enter into a contract marriage. The young gentleman read the contract and then said that it was excellent and suggested that we do so. The butler gives the lady a contract and asks her to read it. And at that moment, he thought that this was a contract marriage, and he felt sorry for such a young and beautiful girl who had never dreamed of a marriage without love. The assistant informs that as they already know the wedding of the two of them will soon take place, and he would like to check the preliminary agreement once again. The man says that he personally received this document from the archbishop and says that if the lady agrees and signs it from now on, the contract will be protected by the power of the goddess Sarti. The woman asks the lady if everything is okay. She replies that everything is fine. The man says that if she signs the document, then starting from the day of the foundation of the state, she will be the Duchess of Erbios for 1 year. And in exchange for this contract, an advance payment of 100,000 gold will be made. The gentleman says that in addition, 10,000 will be paid monthly for personal expenses, and if she successfully completes the contract, she will receive 1 million. The man turns to the lady and tells her that she has nothing to worry about, and that's all they want. But suddenly the girl interrupts him and says that she knows that she must be quiet as a mouse and also loyal and honest. The butler says that she said everything correctly, and then says that there is still one last point and the expiration date of this contract. The duke interrupts him and asks how much longer he has to wait. Then he approaches the girl and asks if she has any more questions about the engagement. The main character looked into his eyes and saw a scar on his eyebrow. Erbios claims there are no questions and then asks her to sign at that point. When the girl signed up, he turns around and says that he has to leave. The gentleman explains that he does not usually behave like this and thinks that the duke is probably busy with something. The lady says that she understands everything. The man explains that this is true because he is a man of few words and does not know how to express his emotions. And now that the lady has arrived in the duchy, the duke will gradually change. He explains that it is actually an absurd rumor that the mistress of the Erbios duchy, the first girl to marry the duke, suddenly dies within 1 year due to a curse. The butler claims that they are trying to find the distributor of such absolute slander and punish him with all their might. And therefore, he suggests that the lady not pay attention to such rumors. The main character explains to him that she is really okay, and at that time, she thought that it was she who spread that rumor. A wise and kind girl, Cicel Aramis, with a gorgeous appearance and a gentle character, or simply put, she is the girl who has everything. However, if that were the end of it, the story would never have begun. Cecil's father, Viscount Edward Aramis, lived a righteous life as a man of upright and honest character. But there was one problem: he had an excessive sense of duty to be an example to others. The Viscount wanted his daughter to become a lady that everyone would want to imitate. He always told her that she should not act like vulgar girls who say that money is everything. Dad told his daughter that she shouldn't have too flashy hair color, and she never disappointed her father, who was her only family, because she wanted her father to love her. The Aramis family was the most influential in all of Peron, and the fact that many were investigating the Duke was a source of pride for Cézanne. However, the pride that was supposed to be eternal did not last long. Peron's hometown was engulfed in a storm of development. If you sell the land for that money, you can live on it without working for the rest of your life. And frankly speaking, this was a life-changing thing. Cézanne understood the whole essence of this situation and told her father that he must protect the honor of this city because she believed that you can't sell pride to people who don't know anything except money. The girl argued that her father should not do this because this land not only belonged to the Viscount, but was also the pride and breath of Perron. However, the main character understood that what Dad did was naturally the right decision. The assistant informs the lady that something bad has happened, and the Viscount is not feeling well. The girl quickly ran to her father. He turns to his daughter and says that she should always live correctly and honestly, so that she would not be ashamed of being the heir of a Viscount. The young lady knew that her father remained like that until the end, and she could not even shed a tear because it was such a needless death. At a funeral, a man turns to a lady and says that she is now Viscountess Aramis. Then he tells her that he will always be there for her and that she has nothing to worry about. He asks if they are not one family. At this time, the girl remembered her father's words, that he always said to trust those around you, relying on, and helping each other, trusting them, taking care of your body and spirit. After some time, the girl was told that she had to leave and showed her a document about the eviction order. She screamed in surprise and asked what it was, and then claimed that her father did not sell this mansion. The man says that he doesn't know anything about him, but his deputy has other thoughts on this matter. Uncle's betrayal document forgery, a slap on the back of the head and collapse. And not only could the girl not connect these words because she was stupid, but it was simply never the case that she suspected anyone. In the end, Cézelle was kicked out and left empty-handed, and she couldn't even lift a finger as she watched the mansion that had stood for hundreds of years collapse. The main character understood that such values as honesty, loyalty, and trust, which she had never questioned, suddenly turned away from her. However, the girl believed that this was not the end of the heartless world, and that it was only the beginning. One day she came to her relatives asking for help. However, they refused her because they had such a difficult situation and considered it a bit ignorant that she came to them like that. And then the man says that she should get used to such times faster. No one served the girl hot food, and no one stood up for her when she tried to prove that her uncle had forged documents. After that, a series of frauds and betrayals continued, and the young lady simply tried to live by her father's teachings. But at one time, she thought that this was the end of Cézelle, and she lived a good and worthy life like no one else. And the man says that she forgot the duty of the nobility and took the life of another person, and therefore must atone for her sins with death. The main character understood that the source of the problem was the guild owner, who was pestering her because she couldn't return the money she borrowed for years. At the moment when he grabbed the girl, she thought that the best way out was to throw some object at him, but in the end, it turned out to be a marble seal. Cézelle looked at the people and thought that she was no longer surprised how human life could be so miserable. Suddenly, the policeman grabs the girl by the hair and asks if she is laughing. The judge claims that she is disgusting without any signs of remorse as a heartless killer who took the life of another person. However, the main character believed that her life was not in vain because there were comrades who shared the joys and sorrows of the St. Plessia prison for 10 years. The young lady understood that this too was over today. She looked up at the sky and asked if her father was happy. After all, she understood that she had nothing to be ashamed of, because she had lived according to her father's will. Cézelle thought that if she were suddenly asked if she would live like this again, she would live as she wanted, and she would deceive herself before she was deceived. And also, until she was eaten, she would devour them to the bone. The main character thought that if she could be reborn again, and also open her eyes differently, then she would look at the world with different eyes. Suddenly, the main character, when she opened her eyes, she saw that it was her old room, and she does not understand what happened and thinks that it is a vision at the moment of death. The girl heard her uncle addressing her and saying that she had completely lost consciousness, and then she claims that it was him and asks if she recognizes him. At this time, the main character thought that she recognized him and did not understand how she could not recognize the person who threw her life into a hole. Cézelle wondered if it was too realistic to lead before death. Uncle informs her that her brother's funeral is over, and then claims that she cannot remain in this state forever. Hearing this, the main character thought that it looked like she had returned to the time when her father was buried. And in a few minutes, she realized that she had returned to the past. The girl wondered why she couldn't see the face full of lies. The uncle gives the girl a handkerchief and suggests that she take a good rest because she needs to come to her senses, and then asks if she will follow in her father's footsteps. Cézelle smiled and then said that It would be better if the two of them left here. And then she wiped her eyes and said that she wanted to rest. Uncle says that this is quite expected, and then says that they will leave today, but suggests calling them at any time. The main character turns to the man and says that he should take his father's watch off his wrist and then leave. And at that time, she thanked God for giving her a chance to deal with these vile thieves. And the young lady looked at herself in the mirror and thought that she really had returned, and it was unusual for her to smile like that, because she understood that she had not yet been kicked out of the mansion and put in prison for murder. Sazel believes it was a hellish life, where all she could do was hold back her tears. And she recalls that, after she was born, the only time she smiled was in prison. The girl remembered her acquaintances, who were like real sisters to her, with whom she lived for 10 years. After all, it is clear that they were rude, but they were more honest than anyone else. The main character reflects that, through them, she has established those necessary elements that are needed for life in this world: light cruelty and betrayal, deception of a good soul. The lady understands that in the end, what she definitely learned is swearing, and yet she thought that it was the last time with them. But now she is shaking from the fact that something is being taken away from her. Cecil remembered that the warden said that he needed a place, and therefore he would take away their cell. She wondered what would happen to these prisoners then, and she does not understand if they had a choice, other than death, and believes that, in any case, they are doomed. The girl looked at her father's portrait, and then asked who would be right. After all, she believes that she will protect such and such people. At this time, in a tavern on the outskirts of the village, Edgar, the head of the mercenary guild, Keeter asks why no one has contacted him yet. The gentleman asks the guy if he is sure that he has agreed with that bastard, or rather, with the younger brother. He suggests waiting because he thinks that he will make a decision within the day. The guild leader says that it's too boring to wait here for a week, and then asks if he doesn't know who Marquis Kayla is, and says that if he finds out that he's wasting his time like this, he'll burn him alive. Edgar doesn't understand what to do and thinks that he knew that Viscount Aramis wouldn't budge because of the money. And he doesn't understand why he listened to such a country bumpkin. He explains that he didn't think the matter would be resolved this way. The man reports that Viscount Aramis has fallen into eternal sleep. The uncle says that, even if he has to steal it, he will still bring it. And then he says that the Viscount's daughter is still a beauty, and if she is thrown out, she will be able to live on thanks to that man. The captain says it's almost midnight and asks if it's taking too long. The main character comes to them and says that maybe she should explain who she is. The man smiled and said that it was not necessary, and thought that it seemed her name was Sazel, and he did not understand why she was here at the very moment when she became the object of their conversation. The gentleman asks the lady what brought her there, and the guy says that he sees that she was able to leave the house. The girl showed them the bag and then asked why they were sitting, and she wondered if they were going to give them any money. The captain invites her to listen, and then says that she came to them for no reason, and this confuses them when she behaves so rudely. Cecil says, who knows, although they clearly said they wouldn't sell the land, and then asks if it's not strange that they still remain in this village. At this time, the main character thought that they would either have a hand in bribing her uncle or in killing her, and she understands that there is no guarantee that she will be alive tomorrow because she knows that so many people are eager to harm her in any way. The girl thought that in that case she would sell her property, and then she says that she would prefer the gold bars they showed earlier instead of cash. The young lady shows them the document and says that this is the residence of the Viscount and the territories attached to it, and this document is all the lands of the family scattered across the platform. The guild leader smiled and then said that it would be nice, but realized that if she prepared everything so suddenly, they would need about 50 gold bars. However, she interrupted and said that 200 bars. Hearing this, the man screams and says that the lady knows nothing about this world, and then he claims that this is enough, since he has already given them a good price. However, the lady claims that 200 pieces will be enough. He agrees with her and smilingly says that they will settle for 100 gold pieces. Sazel insists on 200, then explains that if it wasn't worth it, people like her wouldn't even listen to him, then says that's her last price. The girl says to call a carriage for her because she needs to go to the next customer. The captain suggests that she wait, and then says that in that case the lady will have problems too. She asks in surprise if she will have more problems than him. The man asks what this means. She explains that by booking such a hotel, he sits with his hands folded, and if he returns empty-handed, she thinks that his client will not leave everything as is. Edward smiled and then offered to do so, and said that he would fully accept the lady's demands, and therefore suggested that she sit down and discuss it. The lady asks whether they will buy it for 200 or not. The main character puts gold bars to her cheeks and says with pleasure that now she is rich and she will go as she promised and vacate the house by tomorrow's. The captain says that if she does this, it will be easier for them and says that the cart will be waiting. However, the girl stands and watches, and he asks in surprise if she is going to leave. And then he says that he doesn't know. Maybe she is not happy with something, but he thinks that the deal is already completed. Cézanne says it's time for a new deal, and then says it's time to exchange watches, and she asks how about that. The next morning, Uncle says that it's strange, because Elin definitely gave her tea, and he doesn't understand why he still hasn't received any news. The wife asks why he is so worried, since he believes that in any case, the property of that house will go to them. Uncle remembers yesterday's incident when she told him to leave his father's watch and go away, and he understands that it was a malicious look that can only be seen in a column of criminals. The woman suggests not to worry, because even at the funeral, she was not herself, and therefore believes that she did something similar. Her husband agrees with her and says that it should be exactly like that, and he thinks that we need to hurry, because those people won't wait forever either. Uncle says that he will ask Eileen to give her tea again today, and then he remembers the pharmacist's words, that if you drink 1 cup, even a monster can be knocked down. The man thinks that this is great, because in any case, she will ask for help, and the time will come to lend her a hand. And when the master saw the maid Elin, he asked why she had only just arrived, and also wondered how long they had to wait for her. The maid worried says that last night the mistress, but the master interrupts her and says that if she died, the result will be the same, and then offers to give her the letter that she brought. Uncle says that it is obvious that she asked him to take over the management instead of her. The maid gave the master a letter. The wife asked if Cézanne was asking them to come right away. The man read the letter and screamed, asking what the eviction order meant. The maid tells the mistress that the guests are outside. She is surprised and says that they came quickly and then goes and opens the door. Cézanne turns to the gentleman and says that it looks like they all received what she sent. The uncle asks the girl what it is, and then tells her that she should change her clothes first. She asks if there is a need for that, since she thinks this is her home. The relatives scream and ask Lady Armis what it all means, and they ask her to explain everything. The girl claims that everything is written there, and the order about the population, and she does not understand why they raise such a fuss. And then she says that these are things that are investigated by strict legal procedures, and therefore they need to get out by the date indicated there. The main character claims that if they don't do it in time, they will find themselves in a very awkward situation, and therefore suggests that they better follow the instructions. The uncle screams and asks how she can say such things so easily, and also wonders if she has no humanity, and asks her to tell him the reason for her behavior. And then he says that even he, her uncle, can demand his rights, but he did not do so only because she is his niece. Hearing this, the young lady smiled, and then said that if her uncle was planning something, he would give her sleeping pills while she was alone. Cézanne asks if she can ask Eileen about the tea she gave her. The maid objects and says that this is unfair, since she was only doing what she was told. The uncle approaches the maid and then starts pushing her and asking if she can stop. He screams and asks his niece if she has gone crazy and is going to unfairly accuse him of the property that has clouded her eyes, and that does not even belong to her. Uncle says that he must teach her manners and suggests waiting, and says that if it helps her, it will not harm her. Suddenly, the lords came to them, seeing them. The uncle was surprised, and then asked if they had arrived yet. And then he said that he had to figure everything out and contact them himself. The captain turns to the girl and says that he is delighted with the watch she gave him last night. She says that she is happy about it. Uncle asks in surprise what is going on. She asks if he hasn't understood anything yet, and then says that for them, he is the one who receives the money, and she is the one who pays it. The captain taught his uncle a lesson by giving him a good slap on the back of the head several times. Then he tells the girl that in any case, the consequences will be quite big, and asks what she is going to do. The man says that it looks like she will be persecuted. Seizel says she doesn't think that will happen, and if possible, she suggests finding a few more people. He says it's easy as pie. And at that moment, she thought about how she knew it, because money is everything. The lady thinks that it looks like she has dealt with the consequences and understands that it is now time to leave. A few days later, the main character arrived in the city of Noiren, in the center of the north. And when she came to the hotel, she became interested in whether there were any free rooms. The worker explains to all visitors that one guest has rented the entire hotel. At this time, the young lady thought that it was very good that she rented the entire floor. And she thinks that if other people knew about her return, they would say that she should change the future for the better. However, she understands that those who know nothing at all are talking. Seizel finds her blood boiling when she thinks of all the money she collected that was returned to the national treasury while she was in prison, knowing how hard she worked to collect it. The girl recalls that it was the first time she spoke to that person. The guy invites his sister to listen, and then asks that, judging by the number of tears she has, she must have collected a lot of money. The main character thought that now is not the time for these memories, and believes that even if she got rid of the platform land, she cannot have fun and be idle. The young lady understands that in order to avoid the failure of that life, she must write down the event before returning in as much detail as possible. What happened to whom, and what the situation was in the country. Seizel realizes that first, when she was betrayed and left home, 3 months passed, after His Majesty the Emperor died, and then she was not repaid the debt, and also assumes that it was a marriage scam. After all, the guy who married her promised that he would definitely make her happy after he returned from the army. But then she started receiving receipts and realized that he stole all her property and ran away. The girl was so angry, and she wanted him to catch her eye so she could take revenge on him. She understands that, after she was once deceived, someone immediately hit her in the back before she could recover. But she thinks that it wasn't written on her forehead that she was a simpleton. Memories of the main character suffering surfaced one after another, and the fact that the empire became stronger after that incident, and the sudden death of Duke Herbos, who had the greatest influence in the empire. The Herbos Duke's family, as the only one who could restrain the imperial family, had a long history and tradition. After the death of the former emperor, he promoted the new one and had high power to govern the entire empire. And yet, Duke Herbos was honest and modest. In fact, even the girl's father had never seen Duke Herbos's face before, but he had praised and worshipped him many times. The main character thought that he was something like a role model. Seizel understands that even her life was greatly affected by his death, and this can be called the first phenomenon that led her life to a dead end. The entire empire was shocked when the honest and noble Duke Herbos left this world. From the nobles to the commoners, people were full of hope about how the empire would change if everyone united. Meanwhile, the main character was deceived again. After the death of the Duke, the society of the empire became extremely strong. However, the people had one last hope. Duke Kartzer Herbos. Herbos, blessed by the goddess Sart, who was supposed to benefit the empire. The faith of the people of the empire was no different from the faith that had been under the bonds of the genius Sart for hundreds of years, and it was directed at the only heir to the ducal land of Kartzio. However, this empire was in ruins, and this second phenomenon can be called destruction. Even if the next Duke Herbos, who hastily returned home after his father's death, also died in a carriage accident. Eventually, the Marquis Ervante came to power, the late Duke's half-brother. When the greedy and vile Marquis swallowed up the country, lawlessness reigned in the empire, and only power and money remained, which ruled and destroyed people. The main character understands that up to this point, she has been deceived for the 12th time, and then the death penalty followed. She understands that along with the empire came the end of her life. Seizel screams and says that it shouldn't be like this. The guy greeted the girl and asked if she was doing well. Then he said that there was a noise downstairs, that a man had rented the entire penthouse, and so he wondered who it was. Then he asked why she had such a serious expression on her face. The girl turns to Duke Arkell Herbos and asks why, all of a sudden. And at that moment, she asks if he is still alive. The Duke heard this and asked in surprise what she was talking about. and he thought that he would sell his soul for money and do what he could. But he understood that there was something he couldn't do. And then he asked what she had in mind. The girl understands that nothing happened to him, and thanks God for that. She says that the next target is the Duke and his son. The guy suggests that she should not dream about the younger Duke, and then asks if such a smart lady reads newspapers. He says that the Duke must meet with envoys from the southern continent on behalf of His Majesty the Emperor. The man says that the younger Duke of Karsi studied on the northern continent from a young age and believes that he is probably in the kingdom of Belkray in a prestigious academy. The Duke says he doesn't know what her hidden plans are, but he thinks her head will fly off her shoulders before she even gets close to him. At this time, the lady thought that she was glad that everything was different from her memories. And then she objects that there was a hidden agenda, and there was nothing like that. Arkell explains that he came to deliver a letter. Then he says that one of those she was looking for is not far from here. He says that if she pays him extra, he will go and check on him himself. Sazel objects and says that she will do it herself, and says that she bets that if the head of the villains, Edgar, finds the child first, he will definitely decide to recruit her. Aslan Blair is a criminal who will go down in history as Saint Plaisea. Even before the main character was imprisoned, she knew about her because of her reputation. In the newspapers, the articles that the girl sold about Aslan were always written about as a devil's brain. And the lady thought that these were exaggerated rumors, but after a personal meeting with her, she changed her mind. The newspaper articles were very, very cleaned up. The woman screams and turns to the girl and says that she can't stand there, vile Chris. The owner claims that she is a pretender and asks if she thinks that if she touches her things, she will go unpunished. The girl with blue hair objects and explains that everything is not so, because she just wants to eat. The landlady screams and asks if she denies it. Then she asks if she thinks she doesn't know such girls, and she says that she will only reform if she dies like her younger brother, and calls her a thief. Aslan objects and says that her brother was not stealing at the time, and he simply did not receive his salary. The landlady heard this was surprised, and then asked why she should give wages to such scum. And the girl said that they had agreed so, and it was required by law. The woman asks how she dares to talk about the law, and then claims that they have been her slaves since her stepfather sold her and her brother, and also asks how she dares to talk arrogantly about wages and where she learned to do that. The mistress says that if she tries to do something like that again, she will die like her brother from illness. And then she says that she must thoroughly correct her bad habits and swings her hand to hit her. But suddenly, the main character grabs her hand and greets her. The hostess says that she has no idea what such a lady is doing in this place, but first offers to let go of her hand, and then says that she has no business interfering. Sazel claims that from her point of view, she should have intervened and then lets go of her mistress's hand. The main character turns to the girl and says that it is okay not to say anything now, and at this time, she puts a knife under her sleeve. At this time, the young lady thought that in any case, this girl has talent, and she remembered sitting behind bars. Aslan told her that she committed her first murder, and it was the owner of a bar in Noirena who treated her and her brother like slaves. The girl says that her stepfather sold them, and she worked from the age of 5, and then did it out of revenge. She says that she was just faster, and if she hadn't dealt with that bitch, she would have killed her first. At this time, the girl turns to the lady and says that she does not have to do this. And the main character thought about the fact that she gave her a weapon for self-defense, but she thinks that it was pointless. Aslan says that even if she were not the lady, the people around her would help her. Hearing this, the lady thought that these drunks had probably already been bribed with money, since she is a child who could easily have brainwashed them and taught them to testify with stolen money. The hostess turns to them and asks what they are doing, and also wonders if this girl is the lady's younger sister hidden. The woman assumes that this cannot be, because her stepfather dragged her by the hair and sold her. And at that time, she thought that the girl would die sooner after her younger brother, but her useless life turned out to be long. The hostess says that in any case, the precious lady must go her way, and then asks if she wants to buy something here. Sazel asks how much hearing this. The woman was surprised, and then asked if she was really going to buy. She smiled and said that it was a completely different matter. The owner says that the bar in this alley is the best, and she wonders what to offer her. However, the lady objects, and says that she is talking about this child that she wants to take away. The woman asks if she is talking about this worthless girl, and also wonders where she is going to use her. And at that time, she thought that, at first glance, it seems that this lady is engaged in charity. I think that she can make good money on this. The hostess says that if you think about it, this child is very diligent, and the cost of her purchase is expenses while she was growing up. So the lady should give her at least 1,000 to pay it off. Sazel asks, "How about 10,000? Hearing this, the woman screams and says that this will be enough. Aslan turns to the lady and objects, and the hostess nudges the girl and asks if she is going to stand still. When the woman saw the money, she asked if the lady would suffer any losses, and also inquired if she needed anything else, and said that she would give her anything she wanted in addition. The main character asks if she will light a candle for her, and the hostess says that the child looks like this now, but if she is washed, she will be a beauty. The woman says that a pimp on the street marked her for the future. At this time, Cecile tells her to shut her mouth because the alcohol is about to flow. The wet woman asks what kind of antics she is having, and then screams and says that the lady who gave her the money should behave nicely. The main character explained that the money she gave included the cost of alcohol and laundry, and then said that if she took even one step, she would burn her alive. At this time, the young lady looked at the girl and thought that it was written on her face that she was now ready to finish her off. Cecil approaches the girl and offers to go together, and then she takes her to a luxurious restaurant in the village and feeds her. Aslan tells the lady that she shouldn't have done it out of sympathy for her. The main character tells the girl that she needs her not as a slave, but as a comrade. Hearing this, the girl objects and says that it cannot be, because she is not a friend of such a noble lady. However, the lady objects and claims that it is possible, and she does not have to stutter. And at that time, she thought that she knows everything about her pretense. Aslan says that no means no, and she knows that the lady is now thinking that she is going to play with her. The lady explains that if she thought so, she would have already used the knife she had hidden and asks if that is so. The lady explains that she doesn't really want to do that to her, but suddenly, she wonders why she smells so plain, and it was her memory of the past. Cecile says that if that's the case, then she shouldn't worry, because she won't make her do slave work and claims that it's not charity at all. The surprised girl asks why a lady like her is needed. The main character is interested in a person like her. How is she different from her? And then she says that she is an orphan and believes that people are basically all equal. Aslan asks whether before the law. However, the lady objects and says before the money. She says that in the world she has no one to trust and rely on, and then asks whether it would be better to have someone to whom she can turn, for example, as a family. The main character explains that it is not difficult, and not that incredible, without deceiving each other and without betraying anything else. Cecil takes the girl's hand and says that family is like turning a blind eye to petty thefts and not reporting them to the police and not beating them, and then asks if she understands and says that if she finishes eating, they leave. Aslan turns to the lady and asks her to wait. The main character says that she will not force her because she knows that she is not one of those who can be forced. The girl says that she is not sure how well she knows her. The lady asks if she thinks she doesn't know her, and then claims that she doesn't do anything that will cause losses, and therefore suggests that she shouldn't worry, because all she needs is her abilities. The girl asks the lady how much she will give her if she goes with her. Cecile gives the young lady a bun, and she asks in surprise if the mistress wants her to gain weight and then sell her to that pimp from the street that the bar owner was talking about. The lady screams and tells her not to say horrible things, and at that moment, she thinks that she is about to explode because she hears too many dirty words. The young lady understood that it was impossible to open the soul of the Aslan in one day, and she understood that this girl was extremely wary because she had lived a hard life. To begin with, the main character attracted her with money, and in the meantime, she was getting closer again. Aslan says that she doesn't know what the lady wants, and then suggests not to even think about getting something from her for free, because she believes that a contract is a contract. The main character says that raising a wild cat is quite difficult, and then says that she understands and asks if she said that she would not comply. The lady saw that the girl had eaten and hid the fork under her clothes. Then she turns to her and says that she left it. The girl agrees with her and replies that she can leave it and the lady tells her to take out the knife too. The girl asks her sister what she's doing anyway, and then asks if she's not trying to use her as a pickpocket or bait. Then why would she need her? Aslan says that she finds it hard to believe her talk about family, and remembers that she said there that she does not do charity. The little girl says that she needs to know her goal, and only then will she be able to mentally prepare herself. Sazelle says it's time to reveal her real goal of deceiving this empire, and then claims she's going to take over this country and scam it until it gets caught and slowly eat it to the bone. The main character suggests the little girl to stop doing little things and asks if the red thread of such a child can break because of such things when she can grow much bigger. Hearing this, the girl smiled. She apologized for laughing and then turned to her sister and claimed that she was really naive, and also asked if she had read some third-rate novel because she believed in such things. The little girl asks if this is true. The lady assures that this is exactly so, and of course not just the two of us. The young lady turns to the girl and says that if she has laughed enough, then they can go because it is time to find the others. The little girl claims that she doesn't understand anything and then asks if she means that first they need to find people for this absurd plan. The newspaper seller screams and says that this is an urgent issue about His Excellency Duke Herbios having died. Sitting in the carriage, Aslan asks what the noise is, and then reminds that she already said that she will take from the mistress as long as she gives her. At this time, the main character thought that she had been too inactive, because after hearing that the Duke was living well in the capital, she felt relieved and thought that fate had changed. Sazelle realizes that it's not just the past, but the beginning that turned her life into hell, and thinks that therefore she should be more vigilant. After all, it's a bad sign from the very beginning, and then says that they need to hurry. Aslan asks, why hurry? Because he thinks that the coachman is already complaining that if they hurry any more, he will fall ill. The main character holds the jewel in her hands and assures that she can do it. The girl says that it seems to her that if something like this touches her neck, it gives her strength for something she has never done. Sazelle explains that finishing is not an option, and therefore suggests not to turn it into a problem. A girl with silver hair asks the coachman what will happen if the weight is reduced by one person, and she wonders if the carriage will go faster. Hearing this, he suggests that she calm down and not talk nonsense. The assistant turns to the gentleman and tells him to close his eyes, even if only for a moment. He asks what the captain said. The man reports that after the ambassadors met with His Majesty on the way to the opening ceremony of the library in the slums, the carriage overturned. As a result, due to construction work on steep terrain. Hearing this, the guy with black hair asks if the body is still intact. The assistant offers him some tea because he thinks it will help him calm down. The gentleman says that the carriage has been stopped, and then says that he will personally drive the horse to the place and take the body. He orders to find out the exact circumstances of the accident before the funeral. The Duke says that the first duty of the head of the family is to leave no doubt in his path. The assistant says that he has not eaten anything properly, but he is in too much of a hurry. The gentleman drinks the tea and asks if that is enough, and then orders the horse to be prepared immediately and the letter to be sent, since he believes that it will arrive within 3 days, and therefore let them guard the scene well. Suddenly, the assistant comes up behind the gentleman and then stabs him in the back. He reminds him that he said that he shouldn't hurry. The man says that if he was interested in how his father died, he could have asked him about it, and then he says that this is exactly how he died. At this time, Aslan, driving the cart, asks his sister if she told him about this place, and also asks where she is going to go since they are at a crossroads. At this time, the main character tries to remember what was written in the newspaper then. Apparently, the Duke did not behave as usual. He was in too much of a hurry because of the sad news about his father, since he was too young. The young lady thinks it would be better to go through the birch forest, but he turns into the holly forest to find the body, and then she turns to the girl and tells her to go to the holly alone. Hearing this, she asks what nonsense the lady is talking about and wonders why they need holly. Sazelle asks the girl if she sees red fruits, and then says that she can see them on the other side, and she hopes that nothing has happened yet. The main character thought that if the line of the Herbios duchy disappears in a weak empire, then all justice in this country will disappear. The lady remembers that in the past, the world became so strong that it reached the level of unrest, and now that she has decided to become the greatest swindler of the empire, She believes that it will be useless if it collapses. Sazel asks the girl if they can go faster. Aslan asks if she is going slowly on purpose, and then says that if they go faster from here, they don't know if they will get to their destination. The main character screams and tells the girl that she knows where the carriage is. The girl asks in surprise what it is, and then says that it stopped a little further and suggests that she get off. The lady claims that there is no time for this now. And then she gets out of the carriage, and after walking a few meters, she sees a brooch on the ground. She understands that the lords got into an accident, and because of the red liquid, they can be injured. Sazel says that if the carriage is in this condition, then there are probably no survivors. The girl suggests that her sister leave since she does not think that they should be in this place. Aslan says that she thinks that they are late anyway, and therefore suggests leaving, because she believes that if they do something wrong, they will be caught. The girl saw her mistress leaving the bush and asked if she had listened to her, and then she repeated again that if someone came, they would be caught. The lady assures that then they can buy a lawyer, and the entire Supreme Court believes that at least now a lawyer can be bought, and understands that if they leave everything like this, it will be more difficult. Aslan asks why, and she replies that this empire could become lawless. Sazel saw the wounded master and says that she found it. And then she goes to him and says that they finally met and calls him the guardian of her empire. The girl says that she thought that her sister was the most naive fool in this world, and then says that she didn't know that she had such a clear goal. Aslan says she thought the lady was an immature noblewoman who left her home to rebel against the world. The lady says she knows she still thinks that way. At this time, the main character thought that she did the right thing by saving him for future generations. And she doesn't understand how a person can look so handsome and wounded man, with a big echo reverberating in the lady's chest, and a sad and pitiful feeling that she can't feel. Aslan says that this man is barely breathing, and she wonders if he has a chance to survive, and then claims that he could die at any minute. The lady objects and says that this should not be, and then claims that then there would be no point in saving him. The girl tells her sister that they should have gone to the hospital from the beginning, and then asks what they are doing. That night, they loaded the man into a carriage and ran away, and the only place they could get to was a remote rural village. Aslan turns to the lady and says that this place has a great landscape and asks if they will bury him here in the morning. Hearing this, she asks screaming what the girl is going to bury. Suddenly, a guy comes up to them and asks in surprise what this carriage is doing here. Seeing him, the girl asks if he is the owner. The guy asks what business they are here for. The girl explains that she and her mistress were looking for a place to stay during their trip, and then says that she really liked the place, and also wonders if they could stay for a few days. The man explains that it is just an empty house, and then says that he lives in a village below, and he rarely visits this place, and therefore it is quiet in the house because no one comes or goes. Aslan asks if this is true, and then says that they will not cause problems, and her mistress is not such a stingy person. The guy asks if she's talking about the mistress. The main character apologizes, and then says that she was so tired from the long trip that she couldn't get out and say hello. The girl turns to the lady and then tells her to come in quickly, and asks what will happen if she gets sick like this. Aslan says that regardless of the fact that Madame has passed away, and she is in great shock, she still has to take care of herself at such moments. The lady agrees with her, and says that if something happens to her, their father will not survive it. The girl asks the lady why she says that, and then claims that it is terrible. The guy says that then they can stay at this place. The lady asks if they can. He replies that this is not a suitable place for such a noble lady, but the village where he lives has become very noisy. The man says that there was an accident nearby, and the military and the managers came, and they were looking around everywhere. The girls ask in surprise how this could happen. The guy suggests that they be careful anyway, and then says that if it doesn't cause them any inconvenience, he will bring food every morning. Sazel says that it has been a long time since her mother died, but she can't get food down her throat and says that it will come to her soon. The girl turns to the lady and starts crying, and then calming her down says that they will soon go there together. When the guy left, the main character said that they would not just watch him go. And then she looked back and offered to move this wounded gentleman faster. After they carried the guy, their backs started hurting really badly because they weren't used to carrying such heavy things. Aslan asks if the doctor needs to be transferred. The lady replies that even if he is transferred, it will be hopeless. Then she objects and says that since they have found him, they will make him live for a long time. The surprised girl asks how, and says that she thinks that somewhere in a dream, she saw that a person can be snatched from the clutches of death, and then claims that in such a state, even if they save him, this gentleman will barely be able to move. The main character says that there is a man who can save him, even stab and pierce the god of death, and cut off his head, and he is the one who can save him, and then suggests going and looking for him. Cézelle says that he is a patient, and therefore she will monitor his condition. Hearing this, the girl asks if it is true that she will only monitor his condition. Aslan says that they left her behind, and then asks what they are going to do. The lady took the hood and put it on her head. The girl asked in surprise what she was doing, and the lady replied that she would not do anything like that. When the young lady left, the lady thought that at least she looked her age, and she understood that if the girl was really scared, she would definitely cut someone's throat. Cézelle became interested in how to make a human out of her, since she even knew where she hid the knife. At this time, the girl read a letter that her name was Raya, and she had no last name, and in her hands was the address of the largest and best nursery in the north in Havenry. Aslan remembered that the lady said that Raya was kind like an angel, and she would understand it as soon as she saw her. But she became curious about what kind of angel this was that lived in the nursery. The main character explains that she will know when she sees it, and if she names this address, she will immediately confirm it. Standing at the door, the girl says that if she comes, and she is not there, then despite their contract, she simply will not leave it. At this time, Cézelle began to look after the gentleman. She took a napkin to wipe his forehead. She says that such a kind girl as Raya is rare, and therefore she can be called a living angel. The main character claims that she is kinder than anyone in St. Plesia, and has a deep soul and sincerity. The young lady looked at the prince, and she does not understand how she could forget this, and then turns to him and calls him a savior, and offers to be patient a little, and explains that she needs to go and bring the Aslan if she is still alive. At this time, the girl approached the house of the most famous doctor of this village. The woman says that it seems that Countess Moulton's chronic illness has flared up again, and therefore believes that this time more attention will have to be paid. The man agrees with the lady and says that she has a famous loving husband, and he will probably listen to their request in exchange for treatment. Hearing this, the woman smiled and then asked what kind of person he was then. At this time, the girl listened to their conversation and thought that, judging by the fact that they look alike, they must be relatives. The lady turns to the maid and asks why she is standing there, and also asks if she heard what they were talking about. And then she claims that if she heard the symptoms, she should immediately tell her the method of treatment. The woman turns to the maid and asks her if she doesn't know that she can fire her if she wants. At this time, the daughter turns to her mother and suggests that she stop because she has not fulfilled her duties for the umpteenth time. The daughter asks how they will write the prescription without her, and then says that the count and his wife will arrive soon. The lady looked at the girl and said that she loses her appetite when she sees her, and then suggests that she speak faster. The woman says that her head hurts as if it is about to burst, and she can't even live normally because of vomiting and dizziness. The countess says that she heard that she cannot sleep and has lost weight, so that even skin and bones remain, and she is interested in what medicine should be used and asks the girl about it. The girl replies that 20 grams of dried tamila root should be mixed with licorice juice and then used. And then she says that it will immediately have an effect on headaches and when the pain subsides from that moment. But suddenly, the man interrupts her and says that that's enough. And the woman says that if she hadn't finished, she at least brought them some tea and says that this girl is completely out of her mind. The guy turns to his mother and then asks if he ever told her that if he treats her well, she will develop bad habits. At this time, Aslan, watching them, thought that she had not felt this for a long time. After all, she wanted to finish off one of them. The girl remembered the lady's words that she should not do anything wrong. Aslan followed the maid, and when she was alone, she asked where she was going. Seeing her, the maid got scared and asked who she was. The girl says that if she is looking for a doctor, he is not here. The silver-haired lady says that in fact she did not come to look for him, and explains that she needs another person. Aslan says that her name is Rhea, and there is no last name, and it seems to her that this girl lives in this house and asks if she knows who it is. The maid replies that there is no such person here, and then she says that she does not know what her business is and suggests waiting in this place for a while. The girl says that she needs to deliver something, and so she will take it and return it. The lady says that she will have to make her pride stand because she has no other conditions, and then apologizes if the girl waits a little. Aslan asks in surprise if she is the Ray who lives in the circuit, and then says that everything in this place is dilapidated and definitely looks like a dog kennel. The girl says that her sister's words were true, and then says that she will explain everything later and first offers to go with her sir. Raya says that she has a guest for the first time in a long time, and therefore thinks that she should at least treat him to a cup of tea. At this time, the main character remembered that Raya lives in the village of Heavenreek, and this is a small village adjacent to the border, and thinks that they must not know about it. In a dog kennel located in the house of the most famous doctor, Raya, her full name, should courage Raya Aaron. And she lived in this house, not from the very birth, but rather grew up the only daughter of the most famous and authoritative doctor, a talent passed down through the blood for centuries, and thanks to the teachings of her father, Ray had no doubt in her duty to save people. Unfortunately, there was one problem, and that was her gender. According to local heavenly laws, only a man can be the head of a family and continue the family business. This meant that no matter what abilities Rhea had in her father's eyes, she was just a girl to whom he could not pass on anything. Eventually, when Rhea became an adult at the age of 19, he took one of his students as a son-in-law. This guy had no money or family to inherit from, but he was a kind man. The girl's father fell into eternal sleep from a chronic illness shortly after he found his son-in-law. Before his death, he held the boy and his daughter tightly by the hands and asked them to take care of this family. The main character realizes that her father missed one thing and that the guy looked so kind because he had neither money nor family. As soon as his father-in-law died, he dragged his family into the house. And not only did he abuse her, but all his relatives did too. Her husband relied entirely on Ray's knowledge to run the hospital, but no one treated her like a family member. When the main character heard this, she screamed and asked if she was embarrassed or angry by the fact that her husband had completely swallowed up her house and her too. Raya replied that as long as she could keep the family together, according to her father's will, it didn't matter, because from the very beginning, she only wanted one thing to connect the family with her name. The girl says that she didn't even think that everything would work out without making any effort, because she had to give up everything she dreamed of. One day, he kicked her out to give her room to his sister, in a hut that was uninhabitable and like a dog kennel. And at that time, Raya had no idea where to go. The lady was stuck there, as if her life only had meaning when she saw patients. Sazel says that this is some kind of nonsense, because she does not understand how she could come to terms with the fact that her husband took away her room for his younger sister. The girl says that everything was fine until she found out that it was not his younger sister. Raya says she went up to get the things she left there, and the two of them were busy doing that. They whispered in bed that they would soon move Aaron's family and were planning to start their own family. The girl explains that she was just going to leave there. Aslan screams and asks if she really left, and then says that she should have at least slapped her. Raya confessed that she poisoned them, and it is called froze, her favorite poison. It is colorless and odorless, so you can't feel it in your mouth. But when it goes through your throat, your limbs shrink and your stomach corrodes. The lady says that if you take a moderate dose, it goes away quickly and without pain, but she had to prepare it so suddenly because there were so many people in the mansion that she put a lethal dose. Miss turns to the other girls and asks why they are looking at him like that and wondering if it's not cool. And then he says that with the family he loves so much, he can fall into eternal sleep together at the same moment. The main character thought that immediately, that day she realized that judging by the number of people killed, Ray was ahead of everyone. Sazel looked at the girl in surprise, and she told her that the killer forced her to do this. The lady thought that she was glad that the girl was able to find a doghouse in this village. However, she did not even imagine that it would turn out like this, and at least she could say something. The main character thinks that, first of all, they should find Raya and prevent the poisoning. And then she asks the girl where Raya went. Aslan replies that the lady went into the garden because her husband and family were gathering there, and they were chatting about something. The lady thought that this time she couldn't afford to fail, and then she told the girl to wait for her. And she thought that if her dear friend had to commit the first murder, she thought that it wasn't worth finishing off such beasts first. The Count says that, thanks to them, his wife's headache immediately went away, and then he says that they haven't been able to sit so calmly for a long time, and thinks that he should have come to them right away. The gentleman says that he cannot just leave, and then suggests that they say what they want, since he is ready to reward them generously. The man says that this is not why he treats his patients. The Countess says that she saw this girl last time, but because her head hurt so much, she couldn't come to her senses. The lady says that she heard that the doctor married the only daughter of the Aaron family, and asks if it is she. Hearing this, the man objects, and says that she is his wife to me in every way. And then he says that this girl has nowhere to sell herself, and she just stopped and lives in this house. The doctor explains that since this matter is being discussed, the family's reputation has little to do with it, and he says that as soon as the wife gets married, she always leaves, and therefore it can be considered that she is not here at all. The doctor says that he doesn't know if it's right to call him by the genus Aarons. The woman says that of course Aaron is just a name, but in fact this family was created by her son, and therefore she believes that since Aiden cured the Countess using his medical skills, this family should be given an appropriate surname. The Count is the highest-ranking official responsible for the law in this area, and then he says that the doctor took this into account when he became the son-in-law of the Aaron family. Mom explains that he was simply shackled because of this barbaric system, and a young and promising child was tied by the leg. Suddenly, Sazel comes up to them and asks if it is shameless to swallow someone else's family in one sitting and considers it barbaric. The girl explains that she didn't want to eavesdrop, but their conversations seemed absurd to her. Hearing this, the doctor does not understand who this woman is, and then he says that he does not know how she got here, but considers it rude to interrupt the conversation like that. The man says that if she came to the doctor, she should go not here but to the opposite entrance. The lady asks if she goes, who will carry out the treatment, and then says that the prescriptions are not his anyway. The Count, surprised, asks the lady who she is. She replies that she is a person who is indebted to Aaron's family. The gentleman says that he thinks that she is of the same position as them, and then asks how a lady from a noble family could commit such rudeness. The main character explains that the etiquette of nobility is important, but not knowing her life's benefactor, she thought that it would be better to listen to the insult than to allow another great disrespect to happen. Sazel takes the girl by the hand and says that she is the one who saved her life, and then says that she not only saved her life, but also saved the lives of many of her dearest friends. In an environment where there was nothing strange, even if people died every day, the lives of 5 people were maintained for 10 years, thanks to Ray. The man asks what they are talking about now, and then claims that he is the doctor here. The main character turns to him and says that the doctor who saves people behaves in this way, and then asks if he is ashamed. He asks what the lady knows about his family, and then wonders if it could be that she is in cahoots with her. The lady says that this question is stupid, and then she says that if she had been in collusion with his wife, she would not have caused so much fuss. She says that if his wife had decided, she could have easily put poison in the tea, and at that moment she thought that there was nothing in the cup. The lady was sure from the moment she saw the Count and his wife in this place, because the Ray she knew was not one of those who would willingly take the lives of innocent people. The Duke suggests stopping because he doesn't like it. He says he doesn't know what kind of misunderstanding this is, but it was this doctor who cured his wife, and he claims that he himself examined her condition and wrote out a prescription. Sazel asks if he heard what the recipe was. The doctor asks if she is trying to test him now, and then says that for the Countess's illness, 20 grams of tamila root should be mixed with licorice juice and drunk. The main character says that you can fall into eternal sleep when you drink this mixture, and then says that it seems that Lady Raya knows this well, and could say it right away. Hearing this, the doctor screams and claims that this is nonsense. He asks where this slander comes from, and then says that she will understand after looking at the state of the Countess, since she believes that she is fine. The girl says that the medicine that the Countess used was a strange solution of cannoli and Milan leaves, and she made it and poured it herself. At this time, the main character thought that he was a fool, who thought that Raya would give away her last wealth and pride. Unfortunately, this guy's laziness was beyond imagination, and therefore nothing happened. Cézanne thought that in life you can see a lot, but thanks to him, she was able to see such a scene. And therefore, she thinks that it is strange that two people have different recipes, and she wonders how this could happen. However, the girl says that they can check, and if they trust this man's recipe more, they can try it. The Duke is interested in how to test it. The main character says that she will drink, and then asks if it is not just because she will check it herself, whether the prescription that the man tried to write for the Countess was a real medicine. The doctor screams and says that it wasn't him, but the girl. The Count asks if he will admit now that he didn't discharge him himself. The woman screams and says that this can't be, and that it's all her son. And the guy insists that it's all that girl. The gentleman asks them to stop, and then asks how they dare to tell lies in front of his wife. The doctor points his finger at the girl and says that it is all her fault because she dared to deceive her husband. And then he says that not only did she not repay her husband for supporting the family, but she also planned this. The Count reminds that he lied then when he said that this girl was not his wife. Cézanne says that the Count surprises her and then asks how he could trust the precious life of a patient to someone who is capable of lying so much. The girl says that an investigation should also be conducted into the prescriptions of all the patients he has treated so far. The Count's wife turns to her husband and says that this lady is right, because she thinks the most important thing is that the girl saved her life, and she thinks that people's lives should not depend on this. The Countess says that as soon as they return, she will carefully study all the recipes and actions that he has taken so far. And then she says that if even one lie is revealed, he will not be able to keep his position as a doctor for the rest of his life. The Count screaming turns to the servants and asks why they are standing there, and then offers to take this man away from here. The man turns to Raya and asks if she will really stand there and watch. He reminds her to follow her father's will and asks if she knows that he entrusted him with this house. And then he claims that if he lives, then this house will exist. The doctor screams and says that the precious race of Irons must be protected. The lady says that she hopes that he will continue to defend it diligently in the future. From that day on, the Countess left the house and said that she owed a lot and asked how she could pay. The girl objects and says that she is not obligated to do anything at all, since her duty is to heal people's illnesses. The woman says that she can't just send away her benefactor, and then says that even the honor of the Moulton family must be repaid. The girl says that someday the chance will come. The Countess agrees with her and says that no one knows what can happen in the world, and then says that she is looking forward to this moment. Ria says she doesn't know what to say because she has no choice but to express her gratitude. The main character explains that she did not do this because she wanted to hear something from her. The girl says that she never saved the mistress and never touched such a beautiful and noble lady as she. Cézanne asks if she can in the future, and then explains that if she didn't save her, she can do it in the future. Aslan screams and asks her sister who she is saving here, and then claims that this lady is a murderer, and asks if it is not obvious because of what she did to her. The lady says that she saved one person. The girl with silver hair turns to the lady and says that she is a bitch, and screaming says that she will not leave it like this, and then says that she will burn everyone who lives in this house. The lady turns to the girl and tells her to sit still. However, she claims that her sister only has her. Raya asks if they are related because she calls the lady sister and says that she would not say so. Cézanne asks what difference it makes what it looks like. Then she says that the world looks at her the way she wants it to. The main character asks the lady why she didn't tell the Archduke from the very beginning, because she thinks that she could have said that she was in charge of all the treatment from the very beginning. The girl replies that she is not even the head of the family, and not even the heir. After all, she believes that no one will listen to a girl who has no rights. And living, she realized that the world is like that. Raya says that in any case, she must also repay the lady. And she believes that thanks to her, she can no longer see in her life people whom she did not want to see. And then she says that if she can do something, she will do whatever she wants. The main character asks if she will do everything she answers, and property or money. Cézanne says that then this house. The girl agrees and offers to take it. The main character says that this is a cold-blooded answer that she likes. The surprised girl asks what she is going to use the mansion for. The lady replies that for many things, and then turns to the Aslan and asks why she is sitting and suggests lighting the fire faster. The main character thought that she set everything on fire so that there would be no regrets. But she wondered if everything would be okay with her, because she knew that this house was dear to her. The lady thought that the lady definitely didn't like it. But suddenly she smiles and says that it should have been done a long time ago. Hearing this, Cézelle realized that she forgot for a minute that this girl was the murderer of an entire family. And she asks if she is really okay, since this is all property. Raya replies that she doesn't care, and that what she really needs to keep is in her head, and then asks the lady about what happened today. But the lady interrupts her and asks if the world is not disgusting, and then says that the kinder she lives, the more she is deceived. The lady says that if she behaves well, they attack her, and if she smiles, they tear the smile off her, and she thinks that these are basic rules. The lady says that at least she can show her name and her abilities in this damn world, and if she suffered, she can pay back in the same way. Cézelle says that the girl is Dr. Ray, who doesn't need a last name, and then turns to her sister and offers to go, and also offers the girl to go with them. Raya looks at the wounded gentleman in surprise and asks if she should save this man. The lady explains that it is nothing special since he was badly cut, and his carriage rolled down the cliff, and that is all. Aslan asks her sister in surprise how she can ask a murderer to save a person. Then he turns to the doctor and asks if she collects the homeless and sick and wants to set up a shelter here. The main character remembers that even in St. Plicia, she screamed like that every time she saw a ray. The lady suggests ending this conversation and then turns to the doctor and asks how the gentleman is doing. The girl explains that she treated the wounds, but the cuts are deep and large, and therefore believes that there is a risk of sepsis or tetanus. But fortunately, organ damage was avoided, but he will have a fever for a couple of days tonight. Raya says that antibiotics must be used immediately, and the body temperature must be lowered. She believes that since the cuts have stopped bleeding instead of stitching them up, it is better to observe the condition of the internal organs and perform a surgical operation. The lady says that she took the medicine and tools she needs from her booth, but thinks that it is not enough. Then she says that she will go down to the village and explain the situation and find the medicine. Hearing this, the main character objects and says that this man is wanted, and therefore she will explain the situation later, but believes that no one should know that this man is here. Hearing this, the girl asks in surprise if they kidnapped him. Aslan explains that this is not true at all. The lady suggests that the girl should not be seen by people in any case, and then asks if she can look for medicinal herbs here. Raya knows that anesthesia is essential for the operation, and remembers that she saw Keitel leaves in the nearby forest. The girl says that even if there are medicinal herbs, she needs someone to assist, and then she says that the lady will be embarrassed to watch this. Hearing this, the main character remembered that she had to hold her intestines when she had the operation, and then she assures that everything will be fine and she will cope. Cézelle understands that her savior is very lucky, and while this lady takes care of him, she will do everything possible to ensure that he survives. And she believes that now she only has to endure a little bit since all his suffering is over. Aslan asks the lady where she is going. She replies that she is going to look for herbs and suggests that her sister be there and protect this man. The girl with silver hair asks in surprise why this killer is also coming, and she wonders why she can't. At this time, the main character thought that if they went together, there was a chance that each of them would pull out a scalpel and a knife. Cézelle turns to her sister and says that she trusts her and believes that she can look after him, at least for this day. And at that time, she thought that perhaps she also feels something when she sees this man. The lady understands that looking at him now, and judging by his eyes, a sadness arises that was not there before. The girl suggests to her sister that they simply make a stuffed animal out of him, since she thinks that they will sell it well. Raya asks the lady what's wrong with her. She says that she and her sister will carry those medicinal herbs themselves, and Raya should just look after him. Cézelle says that she wants to stuff him, and understands that who knows what she can do, and also thinks that it will be difficult to hear something like that from the doctor. The girl replies that she is not against it. The lady says that she does not really like the stuffed animal, but it is a pity to save only its skin, and she believes that if it is a perfectly balanced body, then making a sample from it will help in many ways in the future. However, the lady screamed and turned to the girls and told them not to come near him, but to leave both of them. and then she kicked them out of the room and locked the door. Seizel turns to the guy and asks if he knows that if she closes her eyes, she sees a world in which her intestines are being taken out. At this time, the gentleman remembered that when he was little, his father asked him if he really thought he had enough rights to become a good master of the Herbos duchy. The words that I heard most often from my father since childhood were the right to be the heir of the ducal family. This means that this is an innate right. The father turns to his son and says that if he doesn't want to, he can say so at any time. His Majesty invites him to enter a larger world, to hear and try as many things as possible, and then asks if he has already realized what the world is like now. The boy understood that his father's opinion about giving him the position was different. After all, he acted as if he really could refuse at any time. Kartza believed that he could not do this because he was born with the blood of the duchy and blessed by the goddess Sart, and his duties throughout his life were carved in stone. The young gentleman asks his father if he made any mistakes, and at that moment, he thought that he was sad that he was going back to the academy tomorrow. But he understood that he and his father had a strained relationship. The boy asks if it is possible that he missed something or made a mistake that he himself does not know about. His Majesty objects and says that the only problem is that he has done nothing and believes that maybe it is even for the best that he is smart. Father says that the world he sees is not everything. After all, where the knees of those who kneel before him are directed, where the eyes of those who bow their heads are looking, and he believes that soon he will become an adult, and therefore he needs to see what he has not seen. The son asks his father why he says that. He replies that if not him, then no one will say these words to him, and then asks if anyone in the world can say something like that. His Majesty explains what is easy enough to understand at first glance. At this time, the main character says that this is a shitty world, and she thinks that if they let their guard down for a while, something bad will happen, and she wonders if she can survive in this life or not. The girl turns to her sister and asks what she is doing there. Seizel says that it's been 2 days and she wonders if it's time for him to wake up. Raya says that it's still a long way off. After all, she gave him a lot of medicine, but he's still in a coma. The doctor says that in any case, the operation was successful because there are no consequences and believes that there will be no consequences in the future either. Hearing this, the main character says that, thank the gods. Seizel looked at the cut eyebrow and asked what to do with this scar. Raya says that this is the limit because only first aid was provided. And however, a little later, it can be removed with the help of a magic ointment. Aslan looked at the main character and asked what kind of relationship she has with him. Raya said that she was also interested because she was hiding a wanted criminal and even treating him, and thought that it looked like they had a difficult relationship. The girl turns to her sister and tells her that she was worried because she had turned pale since that day in the carriage. And so it is obvious to her that the two of them have a close relationship. The lady explains, screaming, that she is simply afraid that they will finish him off, that's all. And then she claims that in any case, she has nothing with him. The girl wonders what then. After all, she is so desperately saving a man with whom she has no connection and asks about it, and then reminds her sister that she said she was not a fool. At this time, Seizel thought that she didn't know what other excuse to give, because she understood that if she said that she knew the future, she would be treated like a madwoman. The lady explains that this man is some kind of insurance, and she doesn't know how to explain it now. But if they sow the seeds now, they will be able to reap the fruits later. And if this man dies, then the world will be in chaos. And then they will find themselves in a cruel environment in which they will not be able to cheat and live for their own pleasure. The lady does not know how to explain the logic of such a miracle. And then she says that when time passes and something important happens, they will understand her decision today. And she knows that it is difficult and suggests to be patient until then. Aslan asks if it is definitely not out of personal interest, and then asks why she is so concerned about the scar on her forehead. She replies that it is a humanitarian worldview. The lady wonders if they don't feel heartbroken when a masterpiece or piece of art is cut to pieces before their eyes. The lady asks her sister if she wouldn't like the knife mark on the stuffed animal she worked so hard on. Then she turns to Raya and asks if she wouldn't be upset if her specimen got scratched. The main character is tired of explaining, but still believes that the girls got it and they understood everything. Seizel tells the boys that she is disappointed in men, And now, for her, there are only two types of men, and those are those who can be fleeced and those who cannot. Aslan asks, "What about this?" because he understands that there is nothing to take from him now, but someday he can get some benefit from this person. The main character thought that this man would in his own way lay the foundation as the savior of this world, and believes that therefore it is enough for her to use this foundation and take care of the final result. Aslan asks if he suddenly doesn't wake up, can he be stuffed? The lady looks at the girl in surprise and asks what kind of person she is. Saizel looked at the gentleman and said in surprise that he just moved his fingers. Raya assures the lady that she was mistaken and then explains that there is no one who can wake up so easily from such intense anesthesia. The main character thought that the doctor's words must be true, and she thinks that she needs to cover him with a blanket. Suddenly, the lady screams and says that his eyelid twitched. Aslan asks in surprise what she is talking about, and then asks why she is doing this to a nearly dead man. Raya claims that she has never seen anyone wake up from anesthesia in 2 days, and then she says that, theoretically, to wake up from such a strong anesthesia, you have to drink more than 20 types of poison since childhood and change the composition of your blood. The doctor says that unless he is from a family of murderers, no family would do such a thing. The lady thought that if you look, this man seemed to have grown up in love, and she believed that she had definitely imagined it then. Saizel asks, if he suddenly wakes up, will he remember what happened here? She thinks that complicates everything. The girl answers that if he never woke up after the injury, then it is impossible. Raya says that if the lady is so worried, then later he can drink the medicine and gives her a bottle. She explains that this is a special medicine of oblivion prepared according to her secret recipe that she brought from home. The doctor says that if you give him even one drop, he will forget all memories of the past month or so. Hearing this, Aslan thinks that this is great because she will sell it for a higher price. Then she asks why they are looking at her like that and says that she will not take it back. The lady asks if she thinks that if she herself lives without brains, then everyone else does too. Saizel suggests waiting, and her sister asks if she wants to say again that he moved. However, she objects and says that this man has not yet come to his senses. The lady explains that this is not the case, and she thinks she heard some sound outside. The gentleman asks if they are sure that there is no one in this house. The man replies that there is a village where almost no people live, and then asks if they came because of the recent carriage accident. The captain asks what he knows about it. The man looked at him in surprise, and the gentleman says, although what could people like him know? The knight turns to the captain and says that they have looked everywhere but have found no traces. He asks if they are sure, and then says that if not here, there is nowhere else to look. The captain does not understand what to do since that man is waiting for a report. Heavy rain erased the footprints and carriage tracks. For several days, they searched the nearby hotels and hospitals, but could not find even a hair. After all, after so many people were involved, all they found was a torn piece of clothing. The captain thought that it would be okay if they found at least a severed finger, and he believes that he really did seem to soar into the sky, so that no traces were left. The man screams and says that they searched the mountain bottom again, just in case. Then he looks at the mountain where the house was and asks what kind of place it is. The guy says that his shed is there, and he explains that it is a little cooler there because it is a mountainous area, and that is why he stores things that can easily get spoiled. And then he says that there are guests there now. Hearing this, the captain screams and reminds him that he said there were no strangers in this village. He claims that these people are just noble ladies. The captain wonders what the ladies are doing in such a place. He replies that they said they came here to recuperate. But in any case, he doesn't know what they're looking for, and therefore believes that those people have nothing to do with it since they're not in good health and are very weak. Sir, you suggest that he shut his mouth because he will go and check everything personally. Aslan, seeing the men, asks who they are, and then says that her mistress is there. However, the man did not even listen to her and told her to get out of the way. The owner asks the lady if she is there, and then explains that they will come in briefly to check. The captain calls him a fool and then asks why he asks. He thought it was funny that a lady from a noble family was recuperating in such a mountain valley, and he thinks that such a stupid peasant might not know, but his eyes are not deceived. The captain opens the door and tells his knights to search everything inside. Sizel, lying in bed, asks what the noise is, and when she sees the man, she says that it is outrageous. After all, apparently he is from a high-ranking family, and asks how he was able to enter without permission. The captain explains that they are looking for one person, and it just seemed to him that this was the perfect place to hide the person. At this time, the man thought that there were women's clothes and traces of cooking, but no traces of the wounded man. The captain thinks that besides judging by the physique of these girls, they would not have enough strength to carry and hide a wounded person here. Sazel offers him to listen, and then says that it is quite rude, because he thinks it is right to search someone else's house like that without explaining who he is. The captain replies that he thought there might be something hidden in that place, and then says that it looks like he was wrong, and he thinks that there are no other places to look except under that blanket. The gentleman approaches the lady and says that in any case, it seems she is very ill, judging by the fact that she was unable to get up when she saw the guests. The main character replies that she didn't get up only because she doesn't see the need to be polite to such a rude person as him, and to get up for such uninvited and ignorant thugs. Sazel says that she was not born into such a simple family, that she would welcome people who expressed disrespect towards her. The captain wonders what kind of family such a noble lady comes from, who lives in such a wretched house. And the lady replies that before asking her about such things, she should first find out who sent such a rude person as he. Hearing this, the man became very angry, and then asked how she dared to say that. Raya looked at the lady, and in her gaze, she saw the question of whether to finish him off, and she also shook her head, giving a sign that it was still too early. The main character thought that there were too many enemies to make hasty conclusions, but it wasn't that she didn't trust Aslan and Raya, but she thought that if it were just them, they would have figured it out somehow. The lady thought about protecting this man under the blanket, but she doesn't understand why it seems to her that he is constantly moving. The captain turns to the girl and asks what's wrong with her. She replies that she's wondering how long she should endure this inconvenience. The man says that if this is so, then let her get up, because he can help her, and then extends his hand to her. Sazel slaps him on the arm and then screams, telling him to take his hand away. She claims he is crossing a line and asks if he gave her time to get dressed properly. The lady asks if it's really such a big deal that he couldn't even tell her what kind of family he is. And she says that she didn't see a search warrant, and if he doesn't have any explanations, then she has no choice but to go to the capital and find out for herself. Hearing this, the captain thought that, judging by her speech, she was a noble woman from the capital, and believed that in this case, there would be more problems. The man thought that if a rumor spread that the man had sent a knight to find someone, then the source or whoever was behind it would be revealed in a matter of seconds. The captain reports that, first of all, he admits that he was hasty and acted rudely. The lady says that this is the first time she has encountered something so disrespectful and absurd, and then says that her father will not just let it go. After all, her father is a man who knows everything. The main character knows that her father is in heaven and thinks that everything must be so. The knight turns to the captain and says that if in such a situation the problem increases, the captain turns to the lady and asks for forgiveness for this incident, only if all the lady's words are true. The lady says that this also concerns him, and then suggests that during the next visit he prepare an order, or at least a seal, and only if this is an honest matter. The captain turns to the knights and informs them that they are returning to the city, and then asks if they have replenished their drinking water supplies. The knight says that there was a well here, and everyone quenched their thirst and offers the captain to drink too, since he knows that on the way to the city, there will be no place to get water. The captain drank some water, and then said that if they had finished drinking, they should hurry up because they needed to find out something. At this time, the lady says that she needs to get out from under the blanket quickly because she was too close to this man's. When the girl saw the guy, she was surprised because he was lying flat. Raya tells the lady that now is not the time for this, and then says that they need to get out of here quickly because she believes that if they get to the city and conduct an investigation, the lie will immediately come out. The girl says that only high-ranking nobles like the count they saw earlier live in this area. Raya suggests Aslan also prepares herself because she knows that now is not the time for jokes. The sister says that she doesn't think she should do anything. The surprised girl asks what she's talking about. Sazel asks if she really did it. Aslan smiles and apologizes, explaining that she didn't notice how everyone was using her hands. Naturally, after that, the group of men who drank Ray's special medicine of oblivion never showed up there again. After all, according to her, they probably forgot why they came here even before they came down from the mountains. The lady asks, what will happen if the medicine wears off? The doctor replies that it is impossible, because in fact it is not harmful to the body, but it is also a kind of poison, and the effects will never go away until the antidote is taken. Aslan reports that they have run out of the oblivion medicine, and she does not understand what they will do next. The doctor says that even if you do it again, it will take a week because it needs to steep, and in the meantime, if this person comes to his senses, there will be no way. Raya says that in a hurry, another drug can be administered, but after using such a strong anesthesia consistently, it is difficult to guarantee that he will be able to wake up, and therefore there is nothing left to do but prepare the drug. The doctor thought about the fact that she actually guessed who poisoned these rude people, but she knew that from now on, there would be many such people. The main character wipes the gentleman's face and calls him a savior, and also asks how he is going to survive in this world. After all, she understands that this really requires a lot of strength. The gentleman tells Sizel that he must take special care of her. If she does nothing, she offers to simply pay her the salary she deserves. Others quit their jobs one after another, saying there was no hope. The main character understands that even if she leaves there, she really will have nowhere to go. The girl tells the owner that she heard that other people were paid, but she was not. He asks which other people and who exactly. And then he says that he did not think that the lady would come to him with such a statement, and considers it as a stab in the back. The man says that they have been working together for several years, and asks if they are not a family. He also asks if they should argue over some pennies. Sazel says she hasn't paid rent for 6 months, and is about to be kicked out. She also barely tries once a day. The girl spent all her savings, and waited for her salary, which was not paid for 6 months, at a job that she barely held on to, and she thinks that someday he will understand, and at least thank her for waiting so patiently. The main character understands that she has no choice but to believe, since she has neither the confidence nor the courage to compete with him. The owner says he thinks he has had enough of this, and then tells her to look for an easier way to live. He says he will take good care of her, and thinks it is not even comparable to her low wages. When the owner started pestering the girl, she saw a stone near her and then hit him. At this time, the main character realized that she had nowhere else to run, and believed that this was the end of her life. But she didn't even know how to describe the feelings of a person who accidentally committed murder. And this was the first time she felt so stupid. Sazel doesn't understand why she can't express her feelings properly. She feels like she's making everyone else's life shitty until the very end, and then leaving this fucking world alone. And when the girl woke up the next morning, she did not understand why she had such a dream. However, she understood that after 10 years in prison, she had learned to express her feelings. The lady believes that this is a turning point in life and not the end. After all, it was at that moment that her real life opened up to hers. From that moment on, things began that she really had to learn in order to survive in this harsh world. Sazel thinks that if she had woken up later, she would have prayed for that dead bastard to go to hell, and she regrets that she woke up at that moment. However, the main character does not understand why she is in this place, and then she remembers that she fell asleep on a chair next to the bed, but does not remember when she climbed onto the bed. The girl reflects that if you think about it, it seems that someone was looking at her in the dark, but she understands that it cannot be the girl since they sleep well together. The lady doesn't understand why the guy is sweating so much, and she thinks that today is the last time she'll look at that face. After all, according to Ray, he'll wake up in about a day or two. The lady thought that it was time to put him in his place. She turns to the guy and says that when he becomes a duke, he should definitely repay her for this favor. Aslan asks her sister if she is awake yet, and suggests that she sleep a little more. The lady asks why they got up so early. Then she says that the departure is still far away, and suggests that they sleep together a little more. Aslan looks at the lady and asks what she is going to do without them. Sazel asks what she's talking about again. Then she says she's not going to do anything to that man. The girl asks why, then she constantly says to go to bed, and asks if it could be that, when they fall asleep, she will leave them and go away herself. Aslan asks if she thinks she doesn't know, and then says that their mother said all her life that she would be with them, but when she woke up, she was no longer there. She says that if the lady leaves her, then she really will have nowhere to go. Hearing this, the lady invited the girls to come to her and then hugged them. She asks where she can go, because she thinks that they are now a family. The girl asks her sister where they will go now, and also wonders if there is any place. She answers that there are still 2 family members to find. Aslan asks if it is necessary to look for them. The lady replies that if there are 5 of them, then there will be a point. At this time, the main character thought that attachment is attachment, but business remains business, because she believes that this is also a reason. Sisel muses that if she wants to become a con artist who will destroy an empire, she can't afford to miss out on any skills. The girl asks which of the 2 they will look for first. She answers that at least they should find the one who has the skill of prediction. Her name is Melissa, and if they find her, then it will be easier for them to navigate in the future. Aslan asks who the last person is. The lady replies that the girl who changes her face and character every day, and then says that you just need to wake up the next day to find out. Sisel reveals that her name is Theodora, from her 70-year-old grandmother to the girl and teenager, and she is a master of disguise who can transform freely. Only by the next morning can you find out with what personality she decided to continue this day, innate magical power, and natural observation. If Theodora decides to change, she will be able to accurately copy the manner of speech. Sisel recalls that she said that her mother was an actress in a theater troupe, and judging by her words, it seemed as if her mother was a famous person. The girl understands that she doesn't know how famous she was, but she can say one thing with certainty: the daughter surpassed her mother. The main character suggests first looking for someone who is easier to find, and one of them is in the southern city of Sambucus, and suggests starting from there. Hearing this, the silver-haired girl is surprised and says that she hasn't been to the south. Yet Raya asks where they will go after the south. Sisel replies that it could be any place where they can get rich. Marquis Ervante says that in the end, everything turned out so that he can't even see his brother's face. The gentlemen ask the Marquis how such a catastrophe could have happened, and then they say that he cannot be sad forever, and therefore he should arrange a decent funeral in honor of the late Duke. The man heard this and screamed, saying that Kartse simply had not been found yet, and he believed that a funeral could not be held without a body. Viscount Sion claims that until they find even a piece of his clothing, it was an order from His Majesty the Emperor that an official funeral could not be recognized. The Viscount explains to the gentlemen that this is the Emperor's order and they must obey it. The Marquis asks if he personally did not come all this way to appease His Majesty, and then claims that Kartse is his only nephew. And from the place of the accident, and further from the city to the village, there was no place left where they did not search. Ervanti says that no matter how much he worries, despite everything, he is his only blood relative, and asks if he thinks that it is his greed that he wants to send his nephew along with his deceased brother. The Viscount claims that the official search, by order of His Majesty, is not yet over. However, the Marquis objects and claims that it will end today at noon, and the funeral will take place today as planned. The Marquis informs the gentlemen that after another meeting at noon at the building of the central government of Nurin, they will return to the capital and finish the funeral. Viscount Zion says that he knows the reason for his haste. The gentleman heard this and asked if he was in a hurry, and then wondered who could think that he had other intentions. The aristocrats say that this cannot be, because the Marquis is simply worried about the empire. The man asks if there is anything else to say, because he believes that he is here as a symbol of the Herbos family. The gentleman says that someone must lead the family to prevent civil unrest, and he believes that the closest blood relative is the Marquis. Zion claims that this is absurd because he believes that only a legitimate son can lead a family, and then asks if the history of the Sart, which has lasted for hundreds of years, does not say this. The guy says that as a symbol of the Herbos family, this is a tradition that was continued by the will of the goddess Sart. The aristocrat turns to the Viscount and asks if this is not an inevitable situation, and then claims that the Marquis is there primarily for the good of the empire. Ervante tells them to stop, and then says that his words are true about how he dares to lead the Herbos family. He claims that it is beyond comprehension, and moreover, such is the will of His Majesty. And then, He says that he still remains the closest relative. The Marquis suggests that the Viscount see him again at noon, and says that if possible, it would be better if he prepared mourning clothes for the poor Carzy, and says that on this, he leaves. An aristocrat from the crowd says that he still believes that the Duke's son is alive, and asks who would easily refuse honors while being near the former Duke, and also wonders what will happen to him if the Duke who protected his back dies, and therefore he believes that he is clinging to his last hope. The Marquis suggests that the gentleman stop, because he is his only nephew, and believes that if anyone hears, they will think that he does not want Carzy to be alive. The captain approaches the master and asks if this will end today. And then he says that, until the body of the Duke's son is found, he will continue to fuss like this. The master says that therefore he must find one of his fingers. The captain explains that no matter how hard they searched, they couldn't find a single trace. The Marquis asks if he doesn't have 10 fingers. Sitting in the carriage, the girl says that it is very cramped for her, and then asks if they will leave this gentleman here. She tells the lady that if she was going to take him, she would have simply sent him to the door in the carriage. Cézanne replies that it's just still far away. The girl asks how much is left. She replies that he's just a man from a distant world, and he's a future duke. The main character turns to the guy and says that when he returns, he should live well. Aslan asks if she is staring at him too openly and reminds him that she herself said that there is nothing between them. Lady says that for the first time in her life, such a quiet man who does not lie and does not hurt her. Raya says that he is just a half-pipe and asks if it is unnatural. The lady says that this is why they can part with good memories right now. The girl asks if they leave him here. Will that guy definitely come? The lady assures that it will be so because Edgar said so, and offers to take him down since the Viscount is heading to the villa, and therefore a carriage will soon pass by. Cézanne turns to the boy and strokes his face, and then asks him not to get hurt next time. Aslan says that he is a handsome brother, and if he ever dies, his stuffed animal will definitely be hers. And the main character tells Carzy that in the future he should always be on guard, and also not recklessly believe what he hears and sees, whether it be blood ties or friendships. He should always doubt everything. The girl says that not all people in the world are like her, and then wishes him luck. When the Viscount saw the Duke, he asked if he was okay. And then he said that everything was already over, because he had survived, and this was the will of the goddess Sart, because she would never allow the defender of the empire, the Duchy of Herbos, to die. The Viscount says that he does not know whether it is a dream or reality, but at dawn, after he discovered the master, he could not take his eyes off him, because his mind was so tense. Zion asks if he knows how helpless he felt when he said he needed to prepare for his funeral. The Viscount asks how this happened, because he only heard that the gentleman's carriage had left, and he had no one to ask about the accident. Carzy asks if his father's secretary told him anything. He replies that the man passed away this morning. He then says that he felt remorse for not being able to bring him back safely. The guy says that if he knew that the gentleman would return safe and sound, he would not have made such a futile choice. The Duke says he did the right thing. The butler asks where he was all this time, because at first there were no traces, and so they thought he was kidnapped. The butler reports that he sent a letter to His Majesty that the master has returned safely. Carzy says that he made them worry in vain. Hearing this, the Viscount asks if this is the master's fault, and then says that he will now become the official Duke of Herbos. Sion says that if the gentleman had seen the expression on Marquis Hervante's face when he learned of the Duke's return, he would have tried to swallow the family if the funeral had taken place. Carzy says that everyone who needs to know already knows. After this incident, there were many people clinging to the Marquis because they completely forgot how well the former Duke treated them. The Viscount thought that no matter how much he devoted his loyalty to the honest heart of the Duke of Herbos, the new Duke was truly an unbending, sober-minded, and strong man, and even the teachers who taught the Duke and the professors of the academy were surprised. After all, he is the man who never turned from his path, even until the last moment when the previous Duke was alive. Zion thought that such a person even stimulates him, and he thinks that whoever was behind this should be revealed. And then he turns to the Duke and asks that if he remembers anything, then let him tell them. The butler says that Viscount Sion's words are true, and the doctor said that he was cured almost perfectly, and wonders who it could be. and then says that they have no other choice except to quickly find and reveal his identity. Cyan asks if the Duke can think of anything. He replies that he doesn't remember anything. The butler says that in any case, not much time has passed, and any little hint will help. The gentleman assures that he cannot remember anything, and it seems to him that he himself wants to know about what happened that day, more than they guys. Cyan claims that they can't leave it like that, and after they found the Duke, they ordered the servants to search the area, and they couldn't find any other traces, but they say that there is a Christian who saw the carriage leaving quickly. The guy reports that he couldn't see exactly, but there were 2 or 3 girls there with the coachman, and he even said that there was a dazzling beauty there. The gentleman says that, then according to them, they will paste up the image of the men, and he believes that this will spread throughout the empire and that it is only a matter of time before they catch them. The butler saw that the Duke had gotten out of bed and suggested that he wait because the doctor would arrive soon. The Duke says that everything else has healed perfectly and therefore thinks that it is possible not to touch it, but it seems to him that the scar on the eyebrow can be removed with ointment, and also asks whether he should really waste his time on such a wound. The butler explains that he was careless and finished preparing for his return to the capital. The Duke suggests that he wait because he wanted to find one person. At this time, the main character being in South Halema says that they have finally arrived because there is heat there that could not be felt living in the north. The lady says that in this place the herbs grow only here and asks if it is not wonderful. Aslan angrily asks how she will explain that it took them a whole week to get to the south. Raya says that her sister is annoyed on business because they were originally supposed to arrive a few days ago. She understands that such things will happen in the future, but she wonders if she really is not going to reveal her identity. The doctor thinks it would be easier to move around if they had a noble family pass. Then she says that they were hiding a wanted criminal, but they are not criminals, and she wonders if there is a need to hide their identity. The main character claims that this is not the case, and she thought that soon they will become wanted criminals. The lady tells her sister that then they will change their names here, and asks if that won't be more convenient. The girl asks what to do with the pass and how to change names, and also wonders if they also change their last names, and what if they ask what family they are from, and she doesn't know what to answer. Sazel wonders how they can ask her that. Her sister asks who they should ask about her name and family affiliation. The lady explains what you need to ask the person doing this. In the southern slums, Melissa, who lived there, was a child prodigy. She was a child who saw something once, never forgot it. Despite the fact that she could not even buy a book because of her poverty, she had the most fairy tale books in the village, because it was enough for her to rewrite the same book of stories that she had peeped at her friends. However, she was very unhappy. The parents didn't like the village, and everything she wrote, her mother said she would burn it down so that she wouldn't do it again. At that time, a man appeared before them and offered to sell him these books. At that very moment, the parents' attitude changed, and greed flared up in them. From that day on, Melissa was locked in a room and made books that her parents gave her. After it became a full-fledged business, in addition to children's books, she also did other things, various documents and certificates, and even orders from government agencies. Melissa was a genius of forgery, and the perfect skills to recreate every memory of her head, and the color and material of the paper were the same. However, this was not enough for the parents, and eventually they opened a printing house. These were fakes that reached the level of art. Even later, the court could not determine exactly how many documents had been forged. The judges, desperate to preserve their honor, roughly determined that 10,000 documents had been forged. Sitting behind bars, Melissa said that she sold 10,000 documents by the age of 10, and for her both outside and prison are the same. The girl explains that she couldn't see sunlight, and all that was required of her was to do only documents. However, she believes that behind bars, she is much better off, because there are people who listen to her. Aslan asks how such a capable girl could end up in prison, and thinks that no matter how well she does, she doesn't care that she is so naive. The girl with blue hair explains that she was not caught for forging documents because she had a deal with the prosecutor. Sazel asks what she did to cover up the forgery. She replies that it was immorality and explains that she made a death certificate for her father and mother. Melissa says that this is a death certificate of living people, so she was the only person in the cell who received a life sentence without killing anyone. The death certificate of people who were alive overnight turned them into zombies. At the same time, since they were not living, people restrictions were imposed on social activities, and their home and work were taken away in an instant. But since they are still living people, an error occurred. The above could have been somehow resolved, but neither the neighbors nor the administration listened to the words of the couple. It was natural that they had no reputation because they made their daughter work so much. Eventually, they became dead souls and, unable to cope with their anger, jumped into the river. However, people who had already died again, and this became a problem of immorality and forgery of documents. The result in any case was life imprisonment. However, this is much better than accusing her of killing her parents. Anyway, Melissa was happy until her throat was cut. She said that she was happy that she had such a family that looked her in the eyes and trusted her and also listened. The main character understood that even if she was reborn, she would definitely meet her, since she shines brightly from head to toe and can be found at first sight. Seizel looked at the girl with blue hair and realized that they met again, and she asked the girl where she was going. Melissa replies that she has to go to the government office because they are closing soon, and she doesn't want to be late. The main character says that it is not too late and calls her name. Hearing this, the girl thought that she knows her, and then asks if the lady wants to give her a job. Seizel takes the paper from the girl and says that it looks real, but there are too many flaws. She says that it is all filled with black ink, but the death certificate is not that color, and then explains that you need to use blue-violet color. The lady says that natural dyes need to be mixed to make the ink permanent. At this time, the girl with blue hair thought about why the lady was not surprised. The main character reports that the handwriting is bad, but besides all this, the seal is sloppy, and then asks if she hasn't seen what the seal of the district court looks like. Melissa asks how she could see her and wonders who would show her to a child like her. Seizel asks the girl if she wants to study properly. The girl's parents say with delight that the lady has a diamond eye and she made the right choice. The main character suggests that they not talk much, but simply calculate whether everything is correct. The father claims that she is already buying a child who will bring her a good profit. The lady tells them to quickly count and finish this, and then asks if they understand what kind of deal they are making now. The parents ask her if she thinks they are fools, and then offer to take this toadstool away. Seizel says that they will never see each other again, will not talk to her, and will not even ask how she is doing, and then suggests that she should not even dare to think about her. The lady says that if they suddenly change their mind, and on the day they come to find this child, then other ladies will take care of them. The father says that the lady is too worried, and then claims that he understood everything. The lady says that she will consider that she has already dealt with them, and then asks the girl if she wants to say anything. She answered that she does not want to say anything. Seizel invites Melissa to go with them. And a few days before, she told the girl that she was entering the academy, and it was a small but prestigious place. The lady says that if she studies at the academy, she will graduate in 3 years, and after that, she can do whatever her heart desires. But of course, within the law. At this time, the main character thought that at least one member of their family should live seeing bright sunlight. It has long been customary for a family to help its child develop his abilities and inclinations, but a child who, even when locked in a small room, was able to shackle all the public affairs of the empire. Seizel is already delighted with what an outstanding and talented person she will become if she is trained properly. I think that of course she will help them make personal data. Aslan asks her sister why she is so happy that she threw away so much money, and then asks how much she gave to her father and mother. And she says that at first glance it is not a small sum, and she wonders if she spent it all. The lady explains that everything is already over, and asks why bring this topic up again. The sister asks if she is naive or completely stupid, and then asks how she is going to live on. The lady explains that now we need to earn money for food. There are 3 years left before Melissa graduates from the academy, and the main character understands that she is not going to give up and just do nothing because she has been deceived more than once, but she believes that there is no need to hunt for prey herself. Seizel is sure that not even a week will pass before there are people who want to deceive them. Beautiful girls from the north, who have no job, no guardians, and who seem to have a lot of money. and so they created for themselves the confidence of naive fools. The lady understood that they met all the parameters that attract scammers, and all they just needed was to wait. The main character turns to her sister and asks if she knows that she looks like a real villain. Now Raya claims that villains are usually not like that. Suddenly, the girl saw news in the newspaper that men were wanted for the assassination attempt on the keeper of the empire, Duke Herbios. And at that moment, she thought that maybe they were drawn. Aslan wonders if such kidnappers still exist, and then she starts laughing. At that time, the lady thought that she seemed to notice that this hairy man looks like her. The main character understands that it is even better if no one knows their faces. The newspaper wrote that Duke Herbios is returning as the guardian of the empire. Cecil believes that this is how it should be, and now he must repay for saving him. 3 years later, in the capital of the Sart Empire, the assistant asks the Duke why he did this, and then says that he knows how long the emperor waited for his return. 3 years ago, no one doubted that Karsi would replace the former Duke and become the prime minister of the empire. Although he was young, his pedigree and abilities were at their best. The Viscount does not understand how the gentleman could refuse such a good position and leave again for another country. During these 3 years, His Majesty personally intervened to defend the Duke's place, and with difficulty held out against the Marquis's bitter faction. Karsi says that if this position, which can hardly be defended by someone's persuasion and coercion, is so unstable, then Zion asks why he refused this time in response to His Majesty's request to help him at the audience. The Duke explains that he said that he would think about it and then give an answer, and then asks if these words are any different from a refusal. The Viscount explains that this is a position that His Majesty has held with great difficulty for 3 years and considers that he must strengthen it, and then asks if he knows how influential the Marquis has become and how many have already followed him. The Marquis saw the Duke and said that it seemed the audience was already over, and then he said that they had not seen each other for a long time, and when he heard that he had arrived in the courtyard, he hurried to him. Kartsa says that it is good that they met like this, and explains that he was busy with accumulated affairs since he was in a position where he had to take on important affairs of the empire and make decisions. The man with red hair asks how much effort the Marquis has put in during this time, because he believes that age is wisdom after all. The Marquis says that with age, he began to understand how important family and blood are. The Duke says he's sorry, and the man with red hair asks why. All of a sudden, the gentleman points to his finger and says, he needs to be careful because the world is so scary. The Marquis says that it seems his audience has been delayed, and apparently, His Majesty has offered him a special seat. He says that no matter how hard he tried to fill the empty seat, the Emperor must have thought that such efforts were not enough. Ervante claims that from what he heard, the Emperor is thinking of putting another person in the vacant position of Prime Minister, and he believes that His Majesty has truly decided to give the position to him. The Duke says that this is not a place that can be easily changed, easily given away, or taken away. The man claims that his uncle knows this better than anyone else, and then says that he is already leaving. Ervante says that he is a cheeky boy, and even after his father's death, he wandered around the world as he wanted, and even after that, he did not change at all. The Marquis thought he was eager to take this position, but seeing how he flatly refused, he believed that he should be glad that he knew his place. The captain tells the gentleman that this is not the only thing that should worry him. Now he asks what he means. The man explains that, according to what he heard, His Majesty secretly summoned Princess Ivona from the villa in Ihan, located in the east. Hearing this, Ervante thought that the princess was the only daughter of the former emperor and the sister of the current emperor, and he wondered if she was for Kartse. Union through marriage was an obvious and trivial method in the aristocratic world, and if the princess and the Duke of Herbios unite, the situation will change. The Marquis says that they cannot leave it like this. The Duke wonders why the discipline of the imperial palace is so weak. Zion thinks that this Rudian seems to be a nobleman from a low-ranking family, and his thirst for fame led to him becoming the Marquis's loyal dog. The Viscount believes that the Duke gave them a good rebuff because he knows that sometimes he makes such warnings. Zion thought that honest people like the gentleman usually do not give warnings that conceal another meaning. They read that, nevertheless, it is better than nothing at all, because the princess will come soon. Initially, they could have been engaged, and it would not be long before they met. The Viscount understands that they even come from the same academy and are suitable for each other in all respects. Kartse looked at the guy and asked what was wrong with him. He assured him that everything was fine with him and thought that the problem was that the Duke was very indifferent to the opposite sex. And he didn't even hope that the gentleman would be happy with the marriage with the princess. Zion thinks that now it is necessary to keep his mouth shut so as not to make mistakes before they meet. And then he tells the master that he probably understood from the behavior of the Marquis that he demonstrated recently that they can no longer wait. The Viscount argues that even if it is difficult to accept the post of Prime Minister, he should at least have one official post at the Imperial Palace. Kartse is informed that he agrees with him. Zion is informed that, firstly, if His Excellency will manage some position, it will be easier to deal with the nobles. And then he is informed that if the gentleman is interested in something, then let him know about it. Zion claims that there are plenty of other positions, and if he is looking for a more peaceful position, he will choose any except this one. However, the gentleman claims that this position should not be precisely this, because he believes that there is something to profit from there. The southern region has been noisy for the past 3 years due to various incidents. Irkana, a useless island located at the very southern border of the empire, was considered the best place to relax in the empire. On this island, there were even those who made a lot of money simply by selling water and air. In addition, it often happened that influential families in the south went bankrupt overnight. There were even womanizers who had a good reputation and broke the hearts of young ladies to pieces. But the opinion about the main hero of all these fraudulent events is divided. Some said that she was a beautiful widow from the capital, and others said that she was a sincere and pure lady who looked like a fairy. And there were also rumors that she was a strange lady raising her younger sister. The man turns to Lady Cecilia and suggests that she hurry up and return the amount he entrusted to her. And the girl looked at him in surprise and asked what he was talking about. He explained that he was talking about a leather bag that he left her 2 days ago, and there were at least hundreds of gold bars in it. The lady pretends that she hears about it for the first time. He says that now is not the time, and smilingly suggests that the lady not to behave like that. The man says he thinks she doesn't remember, and then asks if he didn't say anything earlier during the explanation about business. The lady tells the gentleman that if he trusts her with gold bars, he will receive dividends on the 10th of every month, and the lady then invests 20 gold bars. The lady wonders if he didn't get the interest for the first month, then asks if he remembers how happy he was that day. The man says that she finally remembered and asks if she wanted to take the gold bars from the bank vault and invest them too. He reminds her that she said she had 300 more. The lady says that this is true, and this is exactly the entire inheritance from her father. He says that. Then the woman said that, in order to take all the money from there, she needs to put another 100 gold coins into the bank, and reminds that he lent it to her 2 days ago. The lady states that she is not going to do this, and is not going to make investments, and explains that she does not want to strive for quick riches. The gentleman says that it is unpleasant, and believes that if it were a scam, he would have started paying her dividends at the beginning. She claims that she knew that he was not such a fraudster, and therefore accepted that money from him as the main investment and the interest received from it. The lady explains that of these 100 bars, 20 originally belonged to her, and the remaining 80 pieces are calculated as interest for 1 month at an annual rate of 5,000%. I heard this man say that it was complete nonsense. The lady shows him a contract stating that once a month on the 10th day, in case of non-fulfillment, the deposit will be confiscated, and then invites him to look and asks if this is where he signed. The man asks in surprise if they are scammers. She asks if he wanted to get his hands on her money. The gentleman objects and says that he didn't want it at all, but was going to return it. The girl thanks him for returning it to her. She says that since they've decided everything, they can go their separate ways. The man screams and says that this is absurd, and considers it a scam because they started it from the very beginning, and then screams and says that she is a cheeky girl, and asks if she thinks that he will leave her alone. Suddenly, Aslan appears and threatens the gentleman with a knife. When he saw her, he thought he was lost, but he says that if he is an ordinary swindler, then these girls are the spawn of hell, and then he runs away. Aslan says that the sword gets longer every time it absorbs red liquid, so she wanted to test it out. Sazelle says that she's already tried it many times. The main character says that she called all the debtors from the gold bars and then offers to take 40 pieces and distribute them to them, since she believes that in any case they need to return the initial capitals. Hearing this, the sister does not understand why she should return and also wonders why she is pretending to be a good girl. She says that because of the lady, they are called noble robbers. Sazelle tells her not to talk nonsense and suggests thinking carefully about what will happen to the victims in the future if they cannot get their money back. The lady believes that there are no born villains, and if their property is taken away, they lose their minds, and there is nothing more for them to fear in this world. And then she asks, what is good, whether the number of their competitors will increase. The main character claims that good people must also remain in the world to maintain balance. Raya says she thinks he should have taken the medicine, because even if it was a forgetting potion, he would have been deathly ill for a few days to completely forget what happened today. Sazelle thinks that it's all over anyway, and they can't even report such bastards. The doctor says that if they report them, they will only suffer losses. The reason why girls are called noble robbers is because they only look for and rob bad people. And when it comes to a large sum of money, you can't make a mistake. Ray and Aslan, with the help of medicine and a knife, cleaned up their tracks, and their motto was as if nothing had happened. They always identified the best prey and left no traces, pretending to be stupid swindlers. The main character offers the girls champagne because she believes that they have worked hard for 3 years. There is no one left in this city that they could rob. The lady says that this is the last day in the South and thinks that it is necessary to celebrate well. The girl turns to her sister and suggests that they now take on a big deal and not such trifles. She claims that if they continue in the same spirit, when will they reach their goal, and then asks if she has forgotten what their goal is. Melissa says that now everything is over, and she can forge any document and can also manipulate laws. At this time, the main character thought that she was not even so happy when she graduated with the best grades and passed the civil service exam, and she thinks that she is the same as she was then in St. Plesius. Melissa reports that she found out about what they had said earlier about the records of the National Office for Missing Children. The girl explains that if you go to the archives of the Human Resources Department of the Imperial Palace, there will be information about orphanages for homeless people and wanderers, and all this data is recorded in accounting documents. Melissa says that she got a job in the department where they collect information about people so that they can find her when they go to the capital. After all, she thinks that she will be able to immediately find out where the child they are looking for is. The lady turns to the girl and says that she could get a better job, but because of her. However, the girl interrupts her and objects, and says that she must have all sorts of reasons to find this man. Sazelle agrees with her, and says that they just need to find one more, and then they will be the perfect family. She says that the Human Resources Department sounds like a silver city where officials spend their time peacefully before retiring. The lady believes that in such a place, they will be able to best control the situation, and believes that this place must be run by someone without money, without experience, and without will. Melissa says that this famous duke will be her boss. Hearing this, the main character was surprised. At this time, the boy turns to the duke and says that from this moment on, he has memorized everything. The young gentleman asks if he didn't tell him to call him brother. The boy asks, how dare he? The duke says it's okay because he can call him that, and then asks if there are any other difficulties. The guy explains that the duke is looking after him well, and then asks if he can be of use to him. The young master says that he just needs to remain as he is, because he believes that this is enough. At this time, the butler watching the gentleman thought that he was a very kind person, and after returning to the capital, he actively met with children in whose veins the blood of the Herbos family flowed. The only valuable heir in the direct line is Duke Karza, but he also has several cousins. Among them is Mr. Cedric, who is very smart, learns quickly, and has some use for his education. The butler informs the gentleman that there are letters awaiting a reply. He asks where the letter is from. The butler explains that Princess Ivona has returned and thinks it would be a good idea to have a joint meeting. The man thought that the content of this letter was actually quite obvious. After all, dozens of letters arrive every day expressing the intention to become the Duke's wife. The butler thinks that at least these letters are sorted through him, since the head of the family, who is not interested in marriage, finds it difficult to read letters with such content. The Duke asks if that's all. The servant replies that that's not all, but there's one more. And when the gentleman opens the letter, he asks the butler in surprise to bring him some tea. He replies that alcohol would be better. At this time, a man sitting at the bar says that he was glad to hear that His Excellency Duke Herbos has returned. His friend says that he is now fully settled in the capital. The man asks, who will protect the empire, if not the Herbos family? Having heard this, the main character realized that the handsome man must protect the empire. Suddenly, a guy comes up to the girl and asks what she's muttering incessantly. Then he says that she looks good, and thinks that the South seems to have done her good. The lady offers him to hurry up and says that he learned about her request there. He replies that in 3 years, he learned everything that could be learned, and then says that there are no traces. The man says he visited their orphanages and slums, and these girls were easy to find because she gave him information about their location and appearance. But this time, there is no information. The guy says that rumor has it that her sister got a job in the Human Resources Department, and then asks if it wouldn't be better to look there. At this time, the main character thought that Kartse was the man, and everything about him was fine, except for his unwillingness to rise to a high position. And until now, to find the necessary information, she bribed people with money. Seizel understands that this man has a lot of money, and she can't understand why he went there, and if he's too young to be a prime minister, he could have just become a minister. The main character thought that the Duke could have taken any other position in the government because he thinks it was much better this way. And then she says that she barely saved him, and he repays her this way. And she thinks that she didn't even imagine that she would be so tied hand and foot. The original plan was to find Theodora, and at the same time commit a big scam to last the rest of his life. However, the lady understands that if the Marquis gains power, it will not be easy for them. After all, he will destroy the social system at once and put his subordinates in key positions and will rule the empire as he pleases. Seizel wonders why she is worried about this man. She realizes that they have little time to find Theodora and commit a major fraud. The girl understands that the capital is big, and if you open your eyes wide, you can easily find some fool. The main character saw Duke Herbos passing by. The guy asks why she suddenly became so nervous. Edgar says that since they have already finished their conversation, he should probably go. She asks if the Duke has much to do, and then objects, and suggests that they just pretend that he did not hear anything. When the guy was about to leave, the girl stopped him and asked if he hadn't said that the Duke didn't have his own family, and that he wasn't a greedy person at all. Edgar says that it is true, but he has already made it clear that in this world there is something that you cannot reach out to with your little hands. At this time, the main character thought that no matter how much she hurried, she shouldn't touch the Duke. He has a lot of money, and he is a simpleton, but he doesn't meet one of her criteria. Seizel realizes that the Duke cannot be so stupid that he can be robbed so easily. Edgar says she should just give in since the Duke already has a lover. The lady asks what that means. The guy asks if she knew that the gentleman was going to meet with the niece of the Marquis Irvinite. At this time, the girls were standing on the street watching the Duke's carriage. Melissa says that she knew that the capital was completely different from her native land, and even the color and patterns on the carriages were different. Raya says that someday their Melissa will be able to meet the Duke of Herbos in person and believes that someday this time will come. The doctor looked at her sister and asked what was wrong with her. And then she asked if she was mad again, because she only praised Melissa. Aslan objects and says that not at all, and then asks who needs her praise anyway. Raya says that Melissa will work next to Duke Herbos and asks if that is why she is jealous. She assures that it is not. The girl says that she is sure that she has seen a similar coat of arms somewhere before, but she thinks that it was not of the same shape. Rhea tells Aslan that she were born in the north and lived there all their lives and were in the south until today, and then asks how she could see Duke Herbos living in the capital. The girl with silver hair asks if she said she saw the Duke, and she explains that she simply noticed the same coat of arms as on the carriage, and also claims that she saw the coat of arms with wings. Raya says that's why she asks when it was. Aslan wonders why she is asking her questions, and then asks who she is to doubt her. Melissa suggests that the girls separate for a while, since she will not be held responsible if any of them get hurt. Sazel tells the girls that if they make a fuss, they should expect no mercy. Aslan talks to her sister and says that she should have come earlier because they saw such a sight. The lady says that she knows who passed by. The girl, surprised, asks her sister if she saw this man too. Sazel, smiling, says that he is their son-in-law. The Viscount asks the gentleman if his window is closed. He replies that it is not necessary. Science says that one might think that this place is too noisy, since they first arrived in the capital secretly, and therefore people were curious. And the assistant thinks that the townspeople are very pleased that the gentleman often appears in public, and he says that if he wants to show himself to the people, it would be better for him to mount a horse and ride past them. The gentleman says that this is unacceptable. The butler says that maybe he will find something interesting outside. Suddenly, the man heard someone swearing and saying that it sounded like women's voices, and he doesn't know what families they belong to, but he thinks that they are behaving wildly. The assistant asks why he is sweating and offers him a napkin to wipe the sweat with, and then asks if the voices of those ladies disturbed him. After all, he can't figure out what's wrong with him. The man says that the meeting he spoke about earlier is that he wants to see the Marquis's niece. He says that the gentleman only mentioned the meeting but did not set a time, and reports that the other side has already asked many times. The butler says that they have already been rushed several times, and then asks if the gentleman is having trouble now. Kartsa suggests setting up this meeting because he believes the time has come for it. Aslan asks the lady what she is going to do, and what kind of wedding to hold, and with whom. She replies that with Duke Herbos. Hearing this, the girls scream and ask if she has gone crazy, and also wonder if the lady knows who he is. Sazel tells him that she slept in the same bed with him for several nights, and that it was not a lie. Then she asks what they were thinking. Aslan says that before this, she dragged some man into the barn, and then forced them to take care of him for several days. And now she decided to make an attempt on the Duke. The sister says that it would be better if they came up with a more realistic plan, and for example, just kidnapped him. Hearing this, the girls were surprised, and wondered if she really called this a realistic plan. Raya says that Aslan is right, and then asks, what if they make a mistake and the wrath falls upon them? She thinks that people like them won't be able to touch it with a finger. Sazel objects and says that she not only touched him with her finger, but also cut his stomach. Raya, surprised, asks the lady what she is talking about. The lady reports that she and Aslan even dragged this man on themselves. Hearing this, the girl asks in surprise what kind of nonsense this is. Aslan screams and says that she remembered that coat of arms and reports that it was the Herbos carriage. Raya says in surprise that it means that the man was Duke Herbos, and then asks why the truth about that man was revealed in such a way, and also wonders why the lady didn't tell them then. Sazel explains that if she had said so, the girl would not have sat idly by. Raya asks how she found out about it, and dragged him there. The lady explains that it is a long story. Aslan asks if it's true that his sister prepared the ground in advance, because she was going to rob him now, and then says that she thinks she's starting to respect the lady. Raya claims that she thought they were just doing a good deed, but it turns out they had such a large-scale plan. After all, they cured and then sent the gentleman home, and now they are going to carry out their machinations. Sazel claims that not to the same extent, and then explains that if that man lived the way she wanted him to, they would hardly have met, and asks what to do if he digs his own grave. The main character says that she is not stupid and was the one who saved his life, and then asks them if they think that she will just stand there and watch as another girl takes him away. At this time, the lady thought that this should not happen, and she believes that after 3 years of active fraudulent activity, only she can eat from the table that she set for herself. Sazel turns to the girls and asks them to imagine that they have donated 10,000 gold pieces to an annual fund to help those in need. Aslan says that she has not had such experience, and therefore she cannot rearrange. The lady explains that it is as simple as an example, and then asks, what if some intermediary took away what she put in with all her heart? The sister says that she will find these 10,000 gold coins and add interest, and also request compensation for moral damages. The lady says that this is it, and then says that she will be brief so that they understand, and therefore suggests that they listen to her carefully. Sazel asks her sister if she said she wanted to play big, and also wonders if there is a person in the empire as rich as Duke Herbios from whom they can rip off monies. The lady turns to Ray and says that if he left the princess with whom his life could be smooth, for the sake of this, to meet the niece of the man who wanted to harm him, and asks what she thinks about this, she replies that he is a fool. The lady says that this is excellent because she agrees. The mistress turns to Melissa and asks who will be the first to know about the child she is searching for throughout the empire. She replies that Duke Herbios. Cézanne agrees with her and says that this is the only way for them, and therefore believes that this way they will be able to get the necessary information and grab a bigger piece before leaving the empire. Raya says that she cannot imagine it, because she already understands that there are no loopholes or gaps. The main character understands that it will be difficult, and not everything will go according to plan, and asks if they know about it. And then she says that there are two types of things that don't work out. The lady says that to give up without really starting to think that this matter is impossible to calm yourself down by forgetting yourself in the corner of the room, and despite everything to desperately try and cling to any opportunity, ultimately having no regrets. Since the matter remains impossible, she asks what the ladies choose. The girls say that they have to try desperately and cling to the end. The lady came to the fortune teller and said that she wanted to see if everything would be okay between her daughter and the Duke. The woman stroking the circle says that she will take a look now. The lady says that she is not the kind of person who believes in such things, but she has heard that it has become very popular lately. The lady says that in fact there is nothing in which their family is inferior to the Duke's. And then she says that, in Sartre, everyone knows the reputation of their family, and they have no sins. The fortune teller screams and asks where such a lie came from. The lady asks how she dares to say such a thing, and then asks if the fortune teller knows who she is. The woman asks how Madame dares to lie to her, knowing who she serves, and then says that she said that their family has no sins, and asks if Madame knows what problems are hanging over them. The fortune teller says that now she will look, and says that the dark clouds will disperse, and then she says that her husband must have 3 hidden children. The lady asks in surprise how this is possible. The woman suggests waiting, and then says that this is not all, and the clouds show her one more thing. The fortune teller asks what the man did again, and what this time. She tells him that the dark clouds are directing her to the blue roofs on 17th Street, and claims that she can go and check there. The lady says that just in case she asks to keep it a secret and not to open her mouth anywhere. The fortune teller suggests that she not worry, because this is something that should not be made public. The woman in the purple dress says that a dark cloud is hanging over the entire empire, and believes that the goddess truly helped them and her daughter avoided big trouble. The lady asks if she is talking about their Rubia. She replies that it is not where the clouds are heading, and that it is the first street of Fernhart. The marquise claims that if she is talking about the first street of Fernhart, then Duke Herbios is there. And then she asks the woman if she knows that today's conversation is a secret. When the ladies left, the girl smilingly asks what other secrets, and says that these were the most talkative mother and daughter of Bini. And now, in 2 days, everything will spread. The main character asks if there are any more rumors to spread. Aslan says that it is not just a rumor, and then asks if she did not see the expressions on their faces, and claims that they will make a mountain out of a molehill. The girl says that nobles are people who believe only what they want. The lady agrees with her and says that she is right. Cézanne turns to the girls and offers to take them gold coins. After all, she understands that it is thanks to these children that Aslan became famous as the best fortune teller in just 2 weeks. The main character believes that children's mouths were much more effective than any male. Because of the short time it was easy to become famous in the back streets of taverns and shopping areas. Aslan says that to all the existing rumors, those mother and daughter will add even more unreliable information, because they understand that there are no people left who do not know what happened to the Duke's first wife. The girl says that this is a curse, and if you marry the Duke of Herbios, then within 1 year you can die from the curse. Aslan asks if this is not absurd, and then wonders what kind of fools fall for such a lie. At this time, the main character thought that it was good that she entrusted this matter to her sister, since she believes that it is in keeping with her abilities. The girl tells the lady that she needs to get back to work, and then asks what she will do. She replies that if the curse is cast, then they must make it real. The lady with the red hair asks the ladies if they heard the news, and then says that she really shouldn't say that. Karina asks if this concerns His Excellency the Duke, because she still doesn't believe it, since these are rumors without any evidence. The lady says that she is right, because they say that because of the strange spiritual energy, ladies usually do not live in that house for long, and this is the first time she hears about the existence of such ridiculous rumors. The girl with red hair reports that she heard that even just having evil thoughts about the Duke can be cursed, and asks what kind of nonsense this is. The lady says that she had no such thoughts, and she does not understand how she dares to do so in relation to such a person as the Duke. And her friend agrees with her and says that she also thinks so, because she believes that a duchess should have natural dignity. The lady offers to drink tea, and when she took a sip, she spat out red liquid. But suddenly, the ladies who came to her were also stained. At this time, Raya thought that it wasn't even blood, and she didn't understand why they were screaming like that. After all, she knew that the red color was the result of the reaction of the cookie residue in her mouth with the tea leaves of the flannel. And before the guards arrived, oxidation would occur, and therefore no traces would remain. Raya says there shouldn't be any pain, and then asks why they were making so much noise. The main character says, what difference does it make? Because she thinks the main thing is that it worked, and she says that now the story about the curse will be more widely spread. Kartsa asks the lady if she likes the tea. She replies that the tea has such a wonderful aroma that even without realizing it, she did nothing but smell it. The gentleman says that he is glad to hear this, and Julia claims that drinking tea with the Duke is also a pleasure. And at that time, the lady thought that she should continue in the same spirit, because she considered that this place had been prepared for her with difficulty, because she had turned the whole house upside down, and even begged Aunt Ervante. The lady told Julia that when she becomes the Duchess of Herbos, the whole world will be at her feet. And not only that, but by combining the power of their families, they will have in their hands not only money, but also the entire empire. The girl understands that their Duchy of Mimesia is one of the few families in the empire, and therefore believes that money and power are not so important, and only one thing is important to her. Because if she becomes a duchess, she can become the best lady in secular circles, and believes that in this case, she will no longer have to bow down to the princess. Julia understands that the Duke is handsome, and thinks that it would be nice to have such a man by her side. The gentleman asks why she smiles like that. The lady replies that she simply remembered a funny rumor going around in high society. When the girl drank the tea, she realized that she was not vomiting red liquid and was not rolling on the floor from stomach pain, and therefore she believed that it was all a lie, and that she was afraid in vain. Julia says that this curse is beyond her comprehension. The gentleman asks in surprise what she is talking about. The lady explains that now she understands that it is all just a fairy tale. And then she says that they say that ladies who spend time with His Excellency are sure to see a red liquid. Kartsa was surprised to hear this. The girl says that, judging by his face, it looks like he is hearing about this for the first time. Julia claims that they say that one should not have ill intentions towards the Duke, and then says that it is unclear who started this rumor and asks if it is not funny. The girl says that if a person who goes against the will of the goddess harbors evil intentions, he will definitely see a red liquid, and they say that even a huge stream of blood will swallow the bride. And then she offers to look at her, because she is fine, and she has no hint of a curse. Suddenly, Karzi spat out red liquid, and then asked if she was talking about the curse, and then said that now he knows how it manifests. The news that Lady Julia had been led out of the tea room with foam on her face spread throughout the secular world. From the first mouths of eyewitnesses, she was in shock, and her hands were shaking, and she was shocked that her whole body was shaking. And again, through street children, it was changed to the fact that the lady was in a red liquid, and she began to have convulsions. And finally, through a famous fortune teller, the verdict was that it was clearly a curse. Aslan says that she can no longer go there, because the Duke's soldiers have already gathered near the fortune teller's house. However, she understands that it was interesting and even regrets those times. Raya says that it was also new for her, that she spilled red liquid and thereby earned money. The main character claims that in any case, they are both great. The sister asks what the next step will be, because she thinks that now is not the time to take a bath, so carefree. Aslan turns to her sister and says that now all competitors have been eliminated, and then asks if it is time to show herself to the bride. The lady asks Melissa if she will give her what she asked for, and then suggests listening carefully, and reads that from the northern town based in Peron. Baron Farzan's eldest daughter Iris has chestnut hair and a gentle disposition. She is a gentle girl with a shining smile, and she does not give up despite the difficult family circumstances. And then she says that this girl is her. The main character asks how they like her smile, and also asks if she looks friendly. The girls say that she really does look like a completely different person. The lady explains that naturally, she learned this acting skill from a great master, and he told her that she should cast aside her shyness because the person she imagines in her head is her. Aslan asks if they can't just use her real name, because she thinks that it doesn't matter who she is or what backwater she's from, since no one in this city knows her. Sazel says that she would like to do the same, but she thinks that she has already done many things up to this day. The girl asks who Baron Fersen is, and whether such a person even exists. The lady explains that this is his uncle's family, but to be more precise, this is the name of the family that sold their uncle's title, and she doesn't even know if he is alive now. And then she says that her father bought this title with his own money and gave it to his illegitimate uncle. And that's why the uncle never spoke with pride when asked about the title. The main character claims that there is no need to worry, and then shows the document and says that besides there, Melissa tried to do everything exactly as on the real document. Cecile says that she is now a lady who came from the village only a month ago. Aslan, having read the document, asks screaming why she is her servant, and why she wrote down Melissa as a relative. The lady explains that Melissa is an elite, and the younger sister has achieved success through hard work, and that is why she is a sister, and believes that this is the concept that adults like the most. The lady says that Raya is a childhood friend, and the daughter of her late nanny, who cooks heels and is generally a well-rounded person, and asks if they remembered everything well. Cecile reports that when the family in the north was destroyed, they had nowhere to go. And since their Melissa got a job in the central government, they came here with her. And although it is difficult, the four of them are trying to survive in this harsh world as a family. The lady says that she once heard that the duchy was looking for a bride to drive away the greatest evil, and in that case, she might try for the sake of the rest of the family. Aslan says it's certainly possible, but he thinks the story is too outdated, and it sounds like some kind of parody of a theater play that was popular a few decades ago. And then he claims he's not some old man, and asks if it would work on the Duke. The main character asks who said that it will be used for the Duke. Hearing this, the girl asks in surprise, who then is the object of marriage, if not him? The bishop turns to the butler and says that he has had a lot of worries lately. Then he asks what is going on, since there are such strange rumors circulating around the Herbos duchy. The priest says that it may be the fault of an old man like him, and then suggests that he may soon see the previous duke in heaven. And he says that he has some suggestions for dispelling the rumors, and thinks it would be better to marry the duke as soon as possible. The priest believes that they cannot leave everything like this, and just watch it, because this misfortune will not easily bypass the duchy. And he understands that even if this is a fictitious marriage, after a year, the rumors about the curse will dissipate. The butler says that he has also thought about it, but he understands that it is not such an easy matter. After all, rumors have already spread throughout Vierne, and everyone knows about the curse, and he's interested in whether there will be a family that will dare to marry off their daughter. The bishop says he will pray to the goddess so that the butler can find peace of mind. Suddenly, the butler saw the girl, and then said that he does not know this lady, and he wonders what family she is from. The priest says that this is Lady Iris, and she has not long arrived in the capital, and she is from the baron's family. The butler says that, judging by the fact that she came to pray early in the morning, it seems that she has a desire that she so wants to fulfill his holiness objects, and explains that he has been watching her for some time, and she is not one of those who tempt such desires. The bishop reports that he has heard that she is not in such good family circumstances, and seems to be constantly thinking and worrying about the rest of her family. He says that, in any case, it is difficult to find such a lady as she. The main character prays and asks the goddess to protect her family, and then she cries. The butler approaches the girl and offers her a handkerchief, and then tells her not to worry. He sits down next to the lady and asks if he has disturbed hers. The man says he didn't mean to eavesdrop, but he inadvertently overheard her prayers, and so decided to ask if something had happened to her family. The girl says that she is the only one left of her family, and then she claims that she is fine because she has people who have become family members. Sazel says that she is not lonely and not having a hard time. And at that time, she thought that he would really believe it, and also thinks that whoever sees it will immediately think that she is not okay because she looks lonely, and it is clear that she is having a hard time, and she is barely holding on. At this time, the gentleman thought that this lady must have a very hard life if she has such a face, and then he asks if she has a place to live. She answers that it does not matter at all. The girl asks if one basement room is not enough to live with a family and take care of them, and she thought about how, until recently, they rented a room and lazed around. Sazel says that she really didn't think she would find herself in this situation, and she says that she hasn't met anyone like her grandfather in a long time and didn't notice how she told him everything, and then thanks him for listening to her and says that she is already leaving. The butler offers to wait for Lady Iris, and then says that he does not know how this will sound to her, and asks if he can talk to the lady for a little while. Kartza asks the assistant if he says that she came here. He answers that it is so. And at that time, he thought that in the end, he was like a possessed person because he persuaded Lady Iris and brought her here. But now, looking at the head of the house, the thought crept up on him. Was he in a hurry? The butler claims that such rumors cannot go on forever, and even the bishop said that she is a very nice woman. The gentleman asks what kind of person she is. The man says that she is very beautiful and graceful. The assistant says that although she said that she has been having difficulties lately, she has not lost her gentle smile and ladylike dignity. At this time, the gentleman thought that he had memorized this because the compliments were pouring in. Kartze says that if there is such a lady, he wonders why he has never seen her on Sundays. And then he says that he has not missed a single visit to the temple since he returned to the country. The butler explains that he also asked her about this, but she claimed that on Sundays, there are many other people there, so she specifically comes only on those days when it is quiet. The man believes that her goal is peace and tranquility in the family, and that she initially had different intentions than those people who flocked to see His Excellency the Archduke. The Duke asks if he said that the lady was going through hard times. The butler explains that she said that she had many family members that she was responsible for, but they were not blood relatives to her, but Iris had to take care of them. The gentleman asks if she is planning to take in someone else during this time, and then he says that he was joking and thought that he had just said it as if she was his friend. The butler believes that this cannot be, because he is the head of a house who has lived his entire life outside the empire, and she is a lady who has come to the capital from the outskirts for the first time, and believes that they could not have crossed paths. The assistant turns to the gentleman and says that she has come to the mansion, and then asks what she wishes to do. And then says, since she is here, she asks if the gentleman can meet her. The butler asks if he doesn't know that the Marquis of Ervante will try to seize on every little thing, and he couldn't push his niece Julia into this house, so his beloved will try to take advantage of this rumor in some way. The assistant claims that someday the gentleman will have to enter into a real marriage, and asks if it would not be better to dispel such unpleasant rumors before that. Kartza asks if he calls this marriage fictitious, and then suggests doing as he says. The butler says that even he, the head of the house, will not be pleased with such a marriage, and then asks, how about Togo taking a look at her face beforehand? And then he says that the lady is waiting for his reception. The Archduke asks in surprise if she is waiting for him. He replies that it is a marriage contract and asks if they can get married without ever seeing each other. The assistant says that if he finds it unacceptable, he will explain it to the lady somehow. However, the gentleman claims that it is not necessary because he believes that nothing can be done now. Aslan says with delight that they really succeeded because this is the living room of the Herbos duchy, and she says that she thought that she was the most cunning girl in this world, but as expected, she could not surpass her sister. Sazel thanks for the praise. The girl says that she really has become an ideal lady and asks if it is too scary. At this time, the main character thought that she does not know this, because before returning to the past, her life was exactly like this. Aslan asks when this man will come, and says that they themselves offered to conclude a contract, and now they are trying to slip away. The lady suggests that she watch her language, because he is not a man but a duke. The main character saw that her sister had suddenly hidden a precious brooch, and then screaming turned to her and suggested not to do this, but to put it back in its place right now. Aslan says discontentedly that it is not interesting. The lady asks if she is here stealing things because of interest, and then claims that she must be careful, because there is still one obstacle left. The lady explains that the thing is that they haven't seen each other yet, and it's the last ambush before the marriage. She says that maybe the Duke remembers them. The girl with silver hair says that this will not happen under any circumstances, because Raya gave him a small dose of medicine. At this time, the main character thought that it was strange, because her heart was tingling. I think that maybe this is conscience. Saizel thought that maybe it was because Karze was the man she saved with her own hands, but she assumed that maybe he was not a bad person at all. The butler asks how long she has been waiting. The lady asks where His Excellency the Duke is. The man says that he will come here soon, and he came early, just in case to say that their leader is a man of few words and a quiet man. Hearing this, the main character thought that she knew this, because sometimes, in order to check whether he was breathing or not, she put her fingers under his nose. The butler says that this is a very sudden news about marriage, and therefore offers to understand if the head of the house will be a little harsh with her. The girl agrees with him, and at this time thinks that not only his behavior, but also his whole body is cruel. The man says that since he is in a hurry to come down from his office, he will not be so dressed up. The lady says that it is not a big deal, and thinks that this is enough, considering that he was lying half naked on a bed in some barn, and then remembers that she undressed him herself. Saizel says she doesn't pay attention to such things. The gentleman comes in and says he's late. Then he says his name is Kartsa Erbioser. Seeing him, the lady thought that he was the most insensitive blockhead, and then greeted His Excellency. The girl does not understand why he dressed up like that. The butler offers to talk about the contract again, and then says that if she signs the document, then starting from the day the state is founded, she will be the Duchess of Herbios for 1 year. Saizel says she knows it. The man says she may have heard that under this contract an advance payment of 100,000 gold will be made, and in addition 10,000 gold will be received monthly. However, at this time, the girl was wondering whether he knew or not. The butler tells the lady that she has nothing to worry about, and since everything they want, but she interrupts him and says that she knows that she must be devoted, as befits a duchess, and be quiet as a mouse. At this time, the main character thought that he should not worry, because as soon as she finds one person, she will take the money and leave without problems. And she thinks that this is enough for cooperation so that he is satisfied. The butler says that there is one last point and the expiration date of this contract, but suddenly the gentleman interrupts him and asks how much longer he has to wait. Saizel thought about Karsi being displeased. He approaches the lady and asks if she has any more questions about the engagement. She replies that she has no questions. The young gentleman says that he has to go. The butler explains that he usually doesn't behave like this, and thinks that he's probably busy with something. At this time, the main character thought that he did not remember her, and he did not recognize her, and therefore thinks that everything is fine. The butler thanks the lady for understanding. The man says that the Duchess needs to prepare her wedding dress, and therefore offers to follow him. Saizel asks Aslan if she has forgotten her role, and then suggests that she be polite. She claims that her abilities do not suit her to be a maid. The lady asks if she thinks she always dreamed of getting married, and then asks where she saw that their work was suitable for her abilities, and claims that this is unprofessional on her part. The girl tells her sister that she understood her and tells her not to yell. The main character asks the butler why he suddenly stopped. He says that there is something there, and at that moment the lady saw the gentleman. The butler says that they have come to prepare an outfit for the lady, and then asks why the gentleman is in this place. He replies that this is his house. Karzi says that he has many things to take care of, and so he will leave, and then asks what the lady is doing. She replies that she has nothing to do in principle, and says that if he allows her, she would like to look around the duchy a little. The butler says that she will be staying here for a whole year, and therefore she should know the mansion. He suggests that she wait a little, since he has asked the servants to leave here, and therefore it will take some time to call them. The butler says that you can't trust just anyone to accompany Duchess Herbios, so he'll see who's best. Then he says that there is a suitable candidate, and that person could easily accompany her. At this moment, the gentleman dropped the vase, and it fell on the floor and broke. The butler asks if he is hurt. Kartsa claims that everything is fine, and then explains that it happened by accident, and suggests that they continue the conversation, since it seems to him that he was going to find an escort for the lady. The gentleman tells the assistant that if he thinks about it, there is a suitable person, and the one who knows the mansion best and is worthy of being near the Duchess. And the butler asks if the Archduke is against it. He answers that he agrees. Kartsa gives the lady his hands and invites her to go. At this time, she thought that she had a feeling that if he took off his gloves, animal claws would be exposed, and she did not understand why she felt so uneasy. And then she agreed to go with him. Sisal thought about how strange it felt to be a married lady. And she remembers that, in her past life, despite the fact that different men were spinning around her, she was not married, and she was often abandoned when she ran out of money. The girl could not imagine that she would marry Duke Herbios, who is considered the best groom in the empire. And she believes that he does not really recognize her, and therefore there is no reason to hesitate next to him. And she wonders what kind of man he has become. The lady thought that the one they saved had grown up so worthy and noble. He had matured so much that he was now accompanying the lady. The gentleman asks the girl if she feels awkward around him. She is surprised to hear this, and then answers that she doesn't feel awkward at all. And she thinks that he has grown up since he learned to ask women such questions. And he thinks that one way or another it is better to remain on good terms with him. Sisal says that maybe the Duke is uncomfortable and thinks that it should be new to start such a relationship. He objects and says that he is used to it. At this time, the girl thought that maybe he had met a lady in the past years, and then says that in their time, it is better to get acquainted and date at least one person before marriage. The gentleman says that he despises such things. Hearing this, the girl does not understand what is wrong with him. Kartsa claims that it is wrong and so frivolous to meet and break up with someone, and then asks if the difference between a man and an animal is not that he takes responsibility for his actions and feelings. Sisal agrees with him and says that he is right, and at that time, she thought that she almost forgot who his father is. He asks the lady why she is looking at him like that. She says that it was just like that, and at that time, it seemed to her that she was looking at her past self. After all, she came to the realization after 10 years of prison, but it seems that this man has not changed at all. The lady thought that, thanks to this, she could easily fool him and take the place of his wife. The gentleman asks what she thinks. The lady asks what he is talking about. Karzi explains about the recent conversation and finds that her opinion is radically different from his. He asks if she feels burdened by Togo taking responsibility for her actions. Sisal replies that they need to take responsibility for everything because they are not animals but people. The gentleman says that he knew that she would answer like that and then smiled. At this time, the girl wondered if it was the answer that made him smile so brightly. And at this time, she realized that she had never looked so intently into the eyes of this man. And the red color is brighter than most precious stones, and she realized that she had been staring for too long and then apologizes. The lady says that the mansion is really beautiful, and it is such a big and majestic place. And then she says that since he was born and raised in such a place, he must have nothing to envy. Kartse says that she doesn't think so, and it is reported that everything she sees is not the end, because sometimes even a bad place can leave memories that will remain in a person's heart for life. The girl says with delight that these are truly beautiful words. After the walk, the lady tells her sister that he is completely stupid and knows nothing. And then she says that he was just reading morals, and she already thought that her father had come back to life. And this made her hair stand on end. Sisal says that's not why she saved him. Aslan asks what she's saying, surprised, and then claims that it's what's best for them. She says they'll grab as much as they can and slowly coax the Duke into finding the girl they want. The main character explains that she simply meant that if he were a little more cunning, his life would be easier. And she believes that in any case, there is no need to worry, because he is one of those fools who never strayed from the path in his life. Aslan says that it is strange, and at that time, she thought that sister seems to her even more foolish, and understands that it is better not to tell her, because there is no need for quarrels with her, and she feels that something is wrong there, but there is no evidence. The sister asks if she noticed anything strange while she was walking with him. The lady replies that now his eyes are just open, and nothing has changed since he was lying in the barn. Aslan knows that as a servant, she has not had the opportunity to properly examine the Duke's eyes, but she knows that these fleeting glances from him make her feel uneasy. Kartsa tells the lady that they will see each other in 2 days. She says that he didn't have to see her off. The gentleman explains that he was trying to do his duty before the ceremony, but he thinks that it seems to have made the lady feel uncomfortable. Hearing this, the girl objects and says that this is not what she meant. Sitting in the carriage, the main character does not understand what kind of strange feeling she has, and thinks that it is because of her wariness. Cézanne asks the girl if she saw that he doesn't know them at all, but she doesn't understand why she would flow like that. At this time at the ball, the lady asks if they heard that Duke Herbos will hold a secret wedding ceremony tomorrow. Hearing this, the lady asks, "What nonsense?" and she does not understand how this can be. The woman says that one of the servants of their house found out about it from her friend who works in the Duke's residence. And then she says that it is a secret because this bride has problems with the house, and she even brought a maid with her and also looks ugly. The lady says that the Duchy of Herbos is a symbol of all the capital's aristocrats. There are many rumors about the inappropriate appearance of the Duchess. Karina says that a servant at her house seemed to say something similar, and then asks the name of the maid working at the Duke's residence. The lady replies that her name was definitely Nancy. The main character takes off her mask, and then turns to her sister, and asks if she heard that her name is Nancy Aslan, asks what she is going to do with them. Cézanne says that tonight is the last night she's single, and it's been a while since they've all been together, and she doesn't want to make a big fuss. The girl asks the lady if she's just going to put up with it, and then says she's shocked by them. Aslan says that the ladies trembled every time they heard about the curse, and now they are only looking for an excuse to say nasty things, and asks why they didn't marry him themselves. The main character claims that this cannot be allowed because she spent a lot of money on it. The lady says that it would be nice if the late Duchess was also a blonde, and asks if they know how much money she spent to make her hair that color. Raya tells the lady that now is not the time to worry about it. Then she says that if they continue to spread such bad things about her, and asks what will happen if the duchy cancels the wedding. The girl asks the lady if she has noticed how the nobles are fond of gossip, and she thinks that if they chat about such and such, the Duke might change his mind. Cézanne says that she already told Aslan that the Duke is not like that at all, and this time they met again, and he is still the same, and therefore, if he was deceived then, and this time, he will be caught. The lady thought that she was sorry that he had to suffer so much. But on the one hand, this man had not changed, and this upset her. Cézanne says that he is not the type of person to call off a wedding anyway. Melissa asks the lady if she is really getting married. The main character asks sadly if it is true that her older sister is getting married. Aslan suggests that they all get together because they have nothing to worry about, because 1 year will fly by quickly. Only 1 day a year in an empire where gambling is prohibited is the only time when legal betting is allowed. The girl tells her sister that it's time to place bets, and then says that she doesn't even know for sure whether she will become a duchess or not, and claims that it's worth clarifying this. The lady gives Aslan money and suggests that she take it and go ahead. Then she tells her that this bet does not end with just money, and a special bet is allowed within the festival. The man asks if there is anything else on the agenda. Then he says that after the terms of the bet are presented, the agenda that receives the greatest response will be set. The man says that up until now, the most money has been bet on whether Duke Herbos will be able to successfully marry tomorrow. Aslan says in surprise that they already think that their sister will not be able to get married, and then asks what they should do now. The main character explains that they need to change the agenda, and then tells her sister to go and say that there is a new agenda and announce it. The lady asks whether the Herbos duchy couple will divorce within 1 year or not. Hearing this, the lords began to place bets, and the main character says that at least now no one will be outraged. Cézanne claims that she is now sure that most of them are now waiting for her to get married, and believes that only then will there be the divorce they so desire. The world is initially built on the fact that people like something bad more than something good. Especially when it comes to issues such as personal life, everyone goes crazy. The lady says that since there is going to be a wedding anyway, she suggests that they raise a little extra income from it. And then she says that it would be nice to have an extra penny, and that they can go and place a bet too. The main character understands that such a bet will not bring much money, and believes that in order for it to take place, bets need to be made on both sides. And she says that they can just wait quietly, and suggests that the girl should worry about me. Cézanne wonders why Aslan isn't coming back, and what she's doing up ahead. The man asks if they have any more bets. The Duke says he's betting 1,000,000 that they won't get divorced. Seeing the Duke, the lady was surprised, and the sister said that she didn't say that he was so stupid. The next day, the young gentleman asks the lady if something is wrong with her. She replies that everything is fine, but he claims that she looks bad. At this time, the main character thought that it was easy for him to say, because of what happened yesterday, she couldn't even close her eyes. I think that no matter how much money he has, he can't throw it away like that. The girl does not understand why the wedding ceremony is so large-scale. After all, she thought that only close relatives would gather, and it was assumed that they would live quietly for 1 year and then go their separate ways. She does not understand why such a lavish wedding is arranged. Cézanne thought that this was being done in order to advertise the divorced man in advance. Kartza says that if it is hard for her, then the ceremony, however, the girl interrupts him and says that there is no need to interrupt since she believes that it will end soon anyway. The gentleman tells the lady that he wanted to tell her to be patient for a while. The bishop says that now they will move on to the vows and asks the Duke if he will say the marriage vows. Kartza says that as the head of the Herbos family, following the will of the goddess, he will fulfill his marital duty before God with body and soul. The priest tells the Duchess that she can say that as a person, she will take responsibility for her marriage with her mind and soul. She says that she knows she has to say that. The bishop asks if there is anyone against the marriage of this couple, and then says that he sees that there is not. At this time, the girl thought that, of course, not since all the nobles have placed their bets. The priest announces that all the meals have been prepared, and now, with the blessing of the great goddess, and under the protection of the emperor, the two become husband and wife. At this time, the main character thought that she was now a married girl, and the priest suggested ending the ceremony with a vow kiss. Hearing this, the lady was surprised, because she wondered whether it was necessary to do this in a contract marriage. The Duke asks the lady where she is going, and then hugs her and kisses her on the lips. At this time, the girl does not understand why he is a good kisser at all. Karsi asks the girl if she is okay, and then takes her hand. At this time, the sister thought that it seemed like the lady liked it, and the main character thinks that the girls will mock her for another 100 years. At this time, their uncle comes up to them and asks Kartza what is going on, and says that one way or another, he should be congratulated. The young gentleman thanks his uncle, and the Marquis says that it looks like he really did marry them, and he thinks that there is no point in saying this now. But during the life of his elder brother, such a marriage would have been impossible. Kartza says that apparently he knew perfectly well what his father wanted. He replies that this is natural since he was his only brother, and therefore if his nephew ever experiences difficulties, he should turn to him. The Marquis says that judging by what he heard last night in the square, he thinks that his nephew has gone too far. And then he says that, nevertheless, he must think about the authority of the duchy, and if he himself loses, having made such a bet, there will be a lot of talk. The Duke insists that it is a small amount, and therefore thinks that everything is fine, and then says that if you think about it, the last amount he borrowed from his father was about the same. Kartza says that it seems to him that his uncle does not experience difficulties from this, and therefore there will be no special problems, and he says that in any case, his late father would have liked the fact that his brother came here in person. The Duke says he hopes he will be safe on his way back from here. The Marquis says that it annoys him to hear him speak like that. Ervante claims that as far as financial matters are concerned, it seems that Karze had some misunderstanding, and he recalls that when it comes to investments, so does his brother. The young gentleman interrupts him and says that if his father were in his place, he would not be having other conversations, but would be enjoying his nephew's wedding. Suddenly, the uncle became interested in what his nephew was looking at, the princess or the knights sent by the emperor. The Marquis says that she is his nephew's fiancée, but he hasn't really seen her face, and then asks, "How about moving her?" Uncle asks if there are reasons why it is not possible. Kartsa replies that there is no reason, but he is worried. The Marquis says that he has already heard about the bride, and therefore suggests that he should not worry. And then he claims that since he is already married, there is no need to hide her any longer. He wonders if there is any need to tremble over her, since he believes that in any case, everyone already knows about everything. Kartsa asks if he really thought now that he would worry about his wife. Uncle asks not so, and that, and suggest him not to worry because he will not ask questions that will put the Duchess in an awkward position. The young gentleman says that because of this, the Duke's family will not fall flat on their face, and then explains that he meant his uncle. Hearing this, Ervanti turned around and left. Zion tells the master that he did the right thing because he does not understand how his uncle dares to come to such a place and disturb him, and then asks if it is too impudent. The Viscount says that it was obvious that the Marquis intended to disgrace the Duchess. Then he claims that he did a very good job of it, and asks how the gentleman came up with such a thing. Kartsa explained that he was sincere because he was worried about his uncle. The main character saw that the gentleman had just smiled while talking to the Marquise, and at that moment she thought about whether he knew who had brought him to such a state. Cézelle doesn't understand why there are no decent people around her, and wonders if it wouldn't be better to just rob him blind with a clear conscience. The girl thought that if her boys were nearby, she could at least speak out, but she understands that the servants cannot even attend the wedding feast. Suddenly, Princess Ivona came up to the girl and greeted her. Cézelle said that it was an honor to meet the princess. Ivona claims that she is delighted to meet the famous new Duchess. At this time, the main character thought that those rumors spread by the ladies at yesterday's festival seemed to be only about her and the wedding, and she thinks that since they went to the same academy, there must have been something between them. Cézelle realized that everyone around was curious about the conversation between the princess and the Duchess, and even that man was looking at them. She noticed that he was even looking at the princess. The main character thought that if it came down to it, the two of them should have gotten everything from the very beginning, and she thinks that if that were the case, she wouldn't have been able to fool Kartsi and get there. The princess turns to the Duchess and she apologizes and then asks what the lady said. And at that moment, she became curious about what she really wants. Cézelle asks if the princess has something to say about the Duke, and she thinks that, judging by the expression on her face, she hit the nail on the head. The main character assures that everything is fine and she can talk. The princess says that those rumors are about the Duchess. The lady asks if she is talking about those bets last night and then claims that they are just bets at the festival and should not be taken seriously. Ivona says that this is not the case. However, the lady continues to speak and assures that it is true. She says that for the honor of the Herbos family, the Duke hoped that unpleasant conversations would not come up again, and that is why he made such a bet. Cézelle looked at the princess and thought that she was cute and didn't know that she had a weakness for it. The Duchess asks if she is interested in anything, then maybe she should call the Duke. The princess assures that there is no need to do that. And at that time, the lady thought that if she retreats like that, and she shouldn't lean on her. And since a year after she leaves, the princess will be the most ideal partner for Kartsa. And within a year, no matter what anyone says, he is her husband. The girl understands that since she has received enough money, she must conscientiously fulfill the terms of the contract, no matter how nice the princess is. The Duchess asks the princess if she can leave her, as she thinks the butler is looking for her. Ivona says that then they will see each other next time. The lady says that it was an honor to meet her. The maid of honor turns to the princess and says that they need to go back. The lady says that it seems that she really doesn't know anything because the Duke has never lost a bet in his life. The butler informs that this is the Duchess's bedroom, and he does not know whether she will like it. Seeing the room, the girl was surprised and thought that he guessed from the first time that it was to her taste. The man says that this place belonged to a former Duchess, and they didn't change it much, and then says that if she has any wishes for the interior, she can say so at any time. At this time, the butler remembered the master's words that she would not have objected even to a barn, and thought that he was inattentive. The man says that he specially prepared the bed linen, but as for the other ones, he is not sure that they should be new. The girl says that it wasn't worth bothering so much because the color is really beautiful, and then asks if he chose it himself. The butler says that he will report other things tomorrow. The girls tell their mistress not to worry, because they will serve her well and take care of her. While in the ladies' room, the girls say with delight that this room is beautiful and worthy of the name of the duchy. Sazelle turns to Rhea and tells her to quickly count all the jewelry in this room. Aslan says that it is not interesting because he thinks that no one will notice if a couple of things disappear. The main character thinks that it looks like she won't stop at a couple of things, and then she claims that they didn't come here to steal. Aslan says that the sister has become just like a real duchess. The lady lays down on the bed and asks if she thinks that it is all fake. Rhea says that she didn't think there would be an official marriage ceremony, and then reminds that there was no such conversation. Sazelle agrees with her and asks if it could be because it is a duchy. She says that she thought that this man's life was a moral book. The main character believes that it doesn't matter whether it's real or fake, but the marriage must be concluded in order. Otherwise, you won't be able to calm your conscience. Aslan objects and says that this is not it at all. And then she says that, earlier when she lived in the alley, there was a famous drunkard there. In order not to reveal his addiction, he decided to get married at 6 in the morning, since this was the only time he was sober, and that's why he did it. The girl says she doesn't know why, but she remembered that incident. Ray suggests she say something more positive, and then asks if there is no one else in the world to compare her to. The main character says that she would not like to slander him, but she believes that his fiancé was deceived. Aslan says that his fiancé was supposed to get an arrest warrant that morning, and they say that she got married at that time so that there would be a reason to mitigate the punishment. And then he claims that the world is a complete lie. Sazelle says that if only that man was able to attract good luck to himself, he would not have married in the first place. After all, a good life is an exemplary life, and everything is perfectly familiar to him. Melissa says that since he tried so hard to make it a contract marriage, then maybe it is. The main character tells the girls not to worry and suggests that they go to bed quickly. After all, she wonders when they will be able to sleep in such a precious room again. Rhea says that it's their wedding night and asks if they can really stay here. Sazelle explains that it's a contract marriage anyway, and the Duke is still busy greeting the guests. The lady says that this is all an established procedure for a wedding ceremony, but suddenly the young gentleman opens the door and asks if she went to bed first. The lady apologizes and says she won't be long. Kartsa says that it's not a big deal, since he would have had to go back to bed anyway. The main character thought that she needed help, and she looked at the guys with such an expression that they would do something. The young gentleman turns to the girls and tells them to leave, because he thinks it will be better that way. Sazelle asks the Duke why he kicked everyone out. He explains that it's only natural, since it's the wedding night. Kartsa invites the lady to lie down more comfortably, and informs her that all the guests have already left, and the butler will deal with the remaining matters. The Duke looked at the girl and called her his wife, and then asked what was wrong with her. The lady asks in surprise if he calls her his wife, and then says that it is so sudden. He asks if she thought that he would call her lady after the wedding. Kartsa says that since they received a marriage letter from His Majesty and took an oath to the temple, then if the procedure is followed, there are no problems. At this time, the main character thought that she did not understand how long this would continue. And then she asked if he knew for sure that she was going to live as a duchess under a contract for a year. The man says that from today, this very year begins. The lady says that in any case, it was not written in the contract. He says that even if it was not written and included in the contract, and then reminds that she said that she would be faithful as a duchess to the Herbos family. Sazelle says that she does not like being forced, and then says that while she plays the role of the duchess, she will do anything and will try to satisfy him. But without feelings, she will be forced to go to such lengths. Kartsa says he doesn't know what she's talking about, but he doesn't like the pressure either. He says it's tradition and the groom's duty. The young gentleman touches the girl's face and says that if she thinks that this is coercion, she assures that this is not so at all. And at that moment, she thought that he came to lift the veil. Kartsa says that he is leaving. At this time, the main character thought that it was good but awkward. The gentleman says that he will tell the butler everything himself, and then asks his wife what about the guests. Sazelle says that she also greeted them, and luckily, Princess Yvonne greeted her first. The Duke asks what she said. The lady replies that there was no special conversation, and then says that it is strange to say this, but she is a very young and pure girl. Sazelle says that she thinks the princess grew up in wonderful conditions and is a good fit for him, and then reminds him that he said he would go to his room. The gentleman explains that he decided not to leave, and the girl asks in surprise why he answers that this is his home and she is now his wife. Kartsa touches the girl's head and suggests that she go to bed quickly. He says that he will tell her in advance to refrain from forcing her to do anything. Lying on the bed, the girl thought about how she had been pushed away and believed that if she was embarrassed by the swindler, her pride would not be hurt. Sazelle knows she can't stand it when such a jerk puts her in an awkward position. When the girl fell asleep, the gentleman looked at her and thought that she was still the same as before. He thinks that it was not necessary to do this. There was a time when the main character lost everything and wandered the streets, and in this world there was nothing that belonged to her. No friends, no love, no money. The girl thinks that maybe that's why, after she got into the cell, she liked feeling someone's warmth the most. After all, she didn't know if this day would be her last, and therefore wanted to enjoy this warm night. In the morning, the Duchess woke up and saw that the gentleman was gone. Sazelle turns to the girls and says that he is not there and thank God, and then says that a big problem almost arose. Raya says her face is glowing and then asks what they did all night. The lady explains that she was just sleeping. Aslan asks if she wants them to believe it. The lady says that if they don't believe, they can go and ask the Duke. The sister says that she will go now and ask directly. Liad suggests that she wait, and then says that it is base to actually go and ask. Sazelle says it's not funny anymore and suggests they stop. Then she asks if they should waste their time on this. The Duchess asks when the Duke managed to leave. Risa replies that it was still early in the morning, and he said that he needed to meet with guests and hold a meeting. Raya asks the lady if she will go to meet the Duke. Hearing this, she asks why, and then claims that she will not go, because she has no business with him. Sazelle suggests the girls listen carefully, and then says that, until the day they reach their goal, they just need to do their part. Aslan and Raya are maids, and Melissa is an elite younger sister, and she is also a duchess. The lady says that from today onwards, according to the schedule, calmly follow the rules of this house, and all you need to do is take care of yourself and change the atmosphere inside the house. She asks if she was understood. The Duchess suggests that they go out and pretend to wait for her, and then claims that they are doing a good job of it. Raya explains that it is because the Duke called them and told them to do so, because Madame had been overzealous all night, with sincerity as if she wanted to bring the dead back to life, and he asked them to take care of her. The man asks when the Duchess will visit the imperial palace. Karza replies that they will see, and says that in any case, His Majesty knows that this marriage is not real. Zion reports that since His Majesty is interested in various rumors about the Duchess, the Emperor would like to see the two of them in the palace. The Duke says that he cannot promise, since it is not something that can be done under duress. Sazelle turns to the Duke and tells him to talk to her a little. And at that moment, she sees a guest, and the gentleman offers him to go out for a little while. And the girl asks the gentleman what he is doing now. He answers that, as she sees it, he is doing his job. The lady screams and explains that she doesn't mean it that way. Kartsa says that if she didn't get enough sleep, she can take a little nap now. Hearing this, the main character does not understand why he has such a naive reaction, and then asks how he could say such a thing to the children. Kars asks, in surprise, what she is talking about. Sazelle explains that she is with the Duke. He claims that she is with him. And at that moment, the girl thought that, if she says something like that, she wonders what he will think of her. Sazelle explains that they got it all wrong anyway about that one. She tells him to think if he said that, she overdid it all night, and of course she thinks that it causes misunderstanding. The lady claims that they just slept in the same bed, and then asks why he said that. The Duke says that they slept on the same bed, and looking from the side it seemed to him that she overdid it. The girl asks in surprise what she did, and at that time he thought that maybe she slept the same way as when she was in prison. The gentleman says that since she is a human being, such things happen. Hearing this, she thought it was true. Sazelle apologizes and explains that she didn't mean it because she was very tired from the wedding ceremony yesterday. He claims that he understood it, and that's why he told her servants. At this time, the main character does not understand why she is grateful and at the same time wants to hit him for such care. The Duke suggests the girl not to pay attention to this, as he believes that this is a misunderstanding, and it will soon be cleared up. She says that she is not sure, because such misunderstandings are not so easily resolved. Karza asks the lady if she has ever experienced anything like this. She replies that it can't be, because she is getting married for the first time. The gentleman says that it is great, because it is his first time too. And he thinks that, in any case, they need to take care of each other, because who knows what kind of conversations might take place. The gentleman says that he is not sure, because no matter how many people live in the duchy residence, the only woman in the family is she. He claims that there may be many such days in the future and asks if she really needs to worry about such things. Cézanne asks if he means he'll continue sleeping in her room. He says he's heard that all married couples do that, and being like a normal couple is a way for her to adjust to life there. After all, he thinks it will be even easier to quiet the useless rumors. The gentleman says that he thinks that last night was quite good for them. And then he explains that she slept very soundly, and the same applies to him. The lady objects and says that she is alone. The gentleman asks if she remembers all her actions towards him last night. The main character assures that nothing of the sort happened, and at that time, she thought that if the conversation dragged on, only she would remain in a disadvantageous position. And then she says that all misunderstandings have been resolved, and she is glad that he got enough sleep. The Viscount asks the gentleman if they have finished their conversation since the Duchess left in a hurry. The Duke claims that there are reasons for this, and more importantly, that he would like to get some sleep. Cézanne lay down on the bed and said that this was the first time in her life she had met such a guy, and then asked Raya if she slept strangely at night. The girl asks the lady what she thinks of the Duke, and also wonders if he is such a simpleton. Anna replies that it is not about that, and she would say that he is also very much an introvert and simpleton. Raya says she doesn't know what she means, but she thinks it's not good. Lady says he's not a bad person at all, but he certainly can't be called kind either. The girl asks if this is not for the best, and then says that the lady hates overly kind people. At this time, the main character does not understand why she constantly remembers those words and meets such an annoying fool for the first time. Cézanne thinks that in their world, there seem to be people of all different types, and she doesn't understand how a person who causes anxiety when in fact he shouldn't. And then asks the girl if she has ever heard this. The butler asks the madam if he can come in. She asks why he is here. The man says that the gentleman said that she needs to start her duties as soon as possible. The lady asks what exactly he is talking about. The butler explains that he is here to tell her about her duties and powers in the duchy, and then he states that no matter what anyone says, she is the Duchess here, and he must transfer her rights as mistress of the house. The man says that in a few days there will be an annual event in the house, and all members of the ducal blood will gather. And then he says that if she wants, he will start telling her about the procedure right now. The butler explains that he really can't be the lady of the house all the time. The Duchess says she doesn't mind. The man says that now that he is old, the young Duchess must take care of everything anyway. Cézanne says in surprise that there is an old butler in their village who did all the work himself until he was 80 years old. Then she turns to him and claims that he looks young. The butler says that he cannot force a noble lady because the Duke also said to do everything without any coercion. And then he says that even without knowing the madam's intentions, he wanted to transfer the duties and brought the head maid.